We are going to learn what Katalon Studio is, what all can you do with this tool, and how can it help in your test automation. Let us start. Katalon Studio is a tool which helps you automate your web and mobile testing. So it uses Selenium and APM libraries. This tool is available for Windows and Mac. It has a very good UI from where you can start creating and managing your test cases. And above all, this is a free tool, so you can start downloading and using it today. You can go to the Katalon website. Let me go to my browser and I'm going to Katalon Studio, and the very first link I have got is this Katalon Studio. Let us go here, and this is the website for Katalon Studio. You have this link to download this tool and all the useful resources. One of the major features of Katalon Studio is the ease of creation of test cases. So if you are a manual tester or you have a team of manual testers, you can start using this tool and start automating your test cases today. It also has integration with tools like Jira, Jenkins and Git. Let us see what all you can do with this tool. You can automate your web and mobile testing. We can do web services API testing automation as well. We can create very quick automation test using this tool. We can do a record and playback, and there is support for various browsers as well. So let us go to the features section, and if you go here on the features, you will find that all these features, you can set up the project, you can create your test cases, run your test cases, view the reports and then maintain your test cases. We will look into this in detail in the coming sessions, and we will learn all these features step by step. Again, very good features that it has is the integration with test management tools like Jira and Qtest. It has integration with version control systems like Git, and then integration with continuous integration tools like Jenkins. How can it help in your test automation? So because of the ease of creation of testing, you can very quickly create your automation test using this tool. It has support for web testing, mobile testing and API testing. Because of the ease of creation, the manual testers can start using it right away. The learning curve is very short, and it has good features for test creation, execution and reporting, and inbuilt integration with tools like Jira, Jenkins, Studio. Today in this session we will see what are the system requirements, and then we will download and start Katalon Studio. We will do this both for Windows and for Mac, and towards the end of this session we will also look at some useful tips. The very first thing that you have to check is the system requirements, and in the last session we have seen that we can have Katalon Studio on Windows or Mac. For Windows you can have Windows 7, 8 or 10, and if you are on Mac you can have Mac OS 10.11 or higher version. It requires at least 1 GHz CPU speed and a memory of 1 GB in case you are on 32-bit, or 2 GB in case you are on 64-bit, and 1 GB of available hard disk space. So let us go to our Windows and check the requirements. You can go to your My Computer and do a right click and go to Properties. So I'll do a right click, go to Properties, and this should show me my system requirements. So you can see the processor speed, the memory and the system type. So mine is 64-bit operating system on Windows, and in case you are on Mac you can go to your top left corner, go to the Apple icon, and then you have this about this Mac. Go here, and again this will show you your system requirements. So once you have checked it, you can go to the next step, and you can also go to the website of Katalon Studio, which is katalon.com, and here go to the resources section and go to the documentation. Here you should find a user guide section, so go to the user guide. Inside the user guide you have installation and setup link. Go here, and here it should show you the system requirements link, and here we can see what are the latest system requirements for Katalon Studio. Okay, so once you have seen that, next step is we have to download Katalon Studio for your operating system. So you can go to katalon.com and click this download now link. So let me click here. The very first thing it will ask you to sign up. You can give your name, email, and set up a password and sign up. In my case, I have already signed up, so I will hit the sign in link and give my email ID and password and do a sign in. And then I will click download now. So let me first show you on Windows. I am on Windows now and I will now hit the download now. So it will show you a window which will have the download for Katalon Studio, and here you can see it has already selected the recommended version. So I am on Windows 64-bit, so it is asking me to accept and download for Windows 64-bit. You can do a download from here, and once you have downloaded, you can see in your downloads folder you will have a zip file like this. Okay, and then you can do a right click and unzip this. You can do extract all, and here you can change the location and also change the name. So I'm just keeping the name as Katalon Studio, and I will do extract, and it should extract to a folder. So let us complete this process. So once you have unzipped Katalon Studio, you should get all these files in your folder, and katalon.exe, you can click here and start Katalon Studio. So just click here and it should start your Katalon Studio on Windows. So now it is starting my Katalon Studio on the Windows operating system. So yes, this is the home screen of Katalon. And in case you are on Mac, again you can download for your Mac. So I will hit accept and download for Mac, and it will start downloading. You can skip this. So it is downloading. I will cancel this download because I already have this. And once this is downloaded, you will have the DMG file that you can run and add to your applications. So once you do that, you will go to your applications and you will find Katalon Studio is here. So again, you can hit this icon and it will start Katalon Studio on your Mac as well. So let us see. This is starting Katalon Studio on my Mac, and you will get the same window like we had on our Windows operating system, and our Katalon Studio will get started. So this is what we have already done. In case you are on Windows, you will unzip and then you will have a folder where you will have katalon.exe that you can click to start Katalon Studio. In case you are on Mac, you have to add it to your applications by double clicking the .dmg file and add to the applications folder, and then you have to start Katalon Studio. So it is starting Katalon on Mac, and on the Windows it is already started. Okay, let us look at some useful tips. So whenever you are downloading Katalon Studio, always look at the release history. Let us do that. I'm going to Katalon Studio website, and let us go to the documentation, and here let us go to this release notes. So you see a link here, release notes. Let us go here, and here you will find all the releases, and you can go to the latest version whatever you have downloaded, and it will show you all the features and all the bug fixes. So it will be very handy. It will give you lots of information. Welcome to this session on Katalon Studio GUI. Today in this session we are going to explore the very basic and major components of Katalon Studio. Let's get started. The very first thing is you have to start Katalon Studio. So in our last session we have downloaded and started Katalon Studio on Mac as well as on Windows. So this Katalon Studio is running on a Mac and this is running on Windows. So whether you are following these sessions on Windows or Mac, it will be exactly be the same. In case there are any differences, I will let you know. So you can follow along these sessions whether you are on Windows or Mac. So once you have started Katalon Studio, you might get a window to activate your product by giving your email ID and password. So you can give the same email ID and password that you have given earlier while downloading. And then you might also get a quick guide window. So you will get a quick guide where you will get all these major UI components, and you can go through this. It will be very useful, and you can close it. Whenever you want to open it, you can go to help and go to quick guide, and it will display the quick guide window to you. You can go to help and quick guide, and yes, it will display it here. Right now we have to go and look at the major UI components. For that, we might either have to create a new project, or we can use any of these existing projects. So let me click on this sample web testing project so that we have these UI components activated, and now we can start exploring our Katalon Studio. The very first component is the main toolbar, or we also call it quick access toolbar, and this is a toolbar where you will find all the major and commonly used UI components. So let me just show you. This is the toolbar. Okay, and here let us explore this very quickly. You have these save icons where you can save your project. Then you have this new, where you can create any of the new test artifact, whether it is a test case, an object repository, and so on. This is very handy. We have this object spy. So if you click here, you will get a window where you can start capturing your objects from directly from a UI. So you can give the URL here, and you can start on any of these browsers, and it will create an object repository for you. It will be very handy when you are creating your automation test for your application, so you can capture all the objects at once and then use them in your test cases. Let me close this window. Let us go ahead, and you then have a similar object spy for mobile. We have this record button where we can record our test cases. We have this run button where we can run our test on any of these browsers. We have a debug perspective where we can debug our test cases while we are writing. We have some issues, we can create breakpoints, and we can debug our execution scripts, and we will see this in the coming sessions. We have this stop button to stop execution or stop recording. Then we have this build CMD button. This will be used to create a command line command for your test execution. So it will be very handy. You will not have to open the Katalon Studio GUI every time you want to execute it. Once your test cases, your test scripts are completed, you can execute it from command line. We have this icon for Git integration. So this is where you can clone, share projects, and do all this push and pull from Git, and we will look into it into more details in the coming sessions. So this was the main toolbar, or the quick access toolbar. The second GUI component is the text explorer, where you can manage and organize your test. So you can see this is the text explorer. Okay, and let us go inside this. So this is a very handy section where you can manage all your test artifacts, and you can see you have your test cases, object repositories, test suites, and all other test artifacts. So it will display your entire project in this tree view. Some of the very useful features are, you can do a filter. You select test cases, and it will only show you test cases. You also have this search icon where you can search for some particular keyword, and it will show you all the matching options. You also have this advanced search where you can search by ID, name, and tag, and so on. One good thing is that you can use this search as well as this filter parallelly, so that I am selecting sample, I am writing sample here, and I'm also selecting test case here. So all the matching options only from the test cases will be displayed. So this again is very handy. Let me make it all, and let me remove this. Okay, so this was the text explorer. This is something we'll be using very frequently in our test case execution and creation. Let us go to the next component, which is keywords browser. So let me show you this icon. If you see here, this is the keywords browser, and if you click here, you will get this window which will show you all the built-in custom and utils keywords. So this is going to be very handy when you are creating your automation test cases. You can directly go to this keywords browsers and look at what are the keywords available. For example, for web UI, we have all these keywords, and Catalan Studio team has done a very good job in categorizing these keywords into these categories. So for example, I want to look at all the keywords related to browser. I will click here, and now I can get all these options. So let me see open browser. So if I go here, open browser, it gives me a very quick information, and I also get this small icon for information. If I click here, it will take me directly to the browser, and it will display all the information about this particular keyword, which is again very handy and very useful. One more thing that you can do is, while you are creating your test cases, you can directly drag and drop these keywords from here, and we will look into it into more details in the coming sessions. So the next GUI component is the editors, and these are used for creating and managing your tests. Let us go to our test explorer, and for every component here you have an editor. So if you go to any test case, let me go to the login test case. As soon as you will click here, you will get this editors here, and if you see down, you have these four editors. We have manual, script, variables, and integration. In manual, you can create your test cases manually by adding every keyword and every actions through this add button, and then you can see your test case being created here. If you want to use the script mode, you can actually script in Java or Groovy and create your test cases. If you go to variables mode, you will see all the global variables associated with your test case. And in the integration mode, it gives us an option for integration with Qtest, which is a test management software. If we go to the object repository, any of the object repository, you will get an editor for object repository, and it gives us the facility to add objects or add identifiers. For example, if you can, if I go to the login object repository and I go to this button login, you can see we already have this identifier by the name ID. You can add more identifiers here, and from this checkbox you can select which identifier to use for this particular object. So again, this is very handy. Let us go to test suite, and again this is the editor for test suite where you can add your test cases. You can click on the add button and you can select which test cases to add in this test suite. You can also check or uncheck this run checkbox, and it will skip the test cases which are unchecked. And again, this is very handy for managing your test suites. You have this editors for data files where you can add your, you can click on the plus button and you can add. You can also add a new test data, and it will ask you what is the data type, whether it is from Excel, CSV, or some internal data or a DB data. Let us go to the checkpoints, and again here you have the editor for checkpoint. If I go to the keywords, you have the editor for keywords, and like this for every test component you have an editor which can be used for managing and creating that particular test component. So this was all about editors, and now we have the views toolbar. So if you go to this right section, you can see this is the views toolbar. Okay, and this is again is very handy. So we have this icon for global variables. So you will find all the variables, all the global variables you have used in your project here, and you can manage it from here. We have this job progress icon. So it will show you whatever is your progress while you are executing your test cases. We have the console, which will give you all the logs. We have this problems section, which will show you if there are any problems. And then we have this log viewer. So this again will be very handy when you are running your test cases. It will show you all the information about your test cases, what are the pass, failed, and you can filter it from here. So again, this is going to be very useful and very handy. Now we have the perspective. So if you go and see here, let me just zoom it. So we have these two perspectives. We have a keyword perspective and we have a debug perspective. So the keyword perspective is what we have been doing right now, or as of now I am on keyword perspective. And when you want to debug your test cases or your test scripts, you will click on the debug perspective and you will get this window and all the options for debugging your test case. So this is something we will look into more details in the coming sessions. The next is we have preferences, where you can set your default settings for the project or for Katalon Studio. So you can go to Katalon Studio, and if you go to Windows, you have this Katalon Studio preferences. So this is on Windows, and from here you can set all the default settings for Katalon Studio. So for uh, Katalon executions, you can do for Git. For test cases, you can do the default settings. In case you are on Mac, you will have to go to the Katalon Studio menu, and here you will find preferences, and again you can do the same things here, setting the default preferences for Katalon Studio. We have a reset perspective. So if you go to Windows, you have this reset perspective button. If you click here, it will reset your perspective to the default settings. So in case you have done some changes and you want to go back to your default perspective, you can click here. Let us look at some useful tips. So there are some useful features on the UI of Katalon Studio. So if you go to the latest version and you go to any of the test artifacts, for example, I'm going to a test case, you will find a question mark icon here, right? So this can take you directly to the documentation for that particular component. So I am on test cases, and if I click here, it takes me to the test cases documentation. Suppose I am on any object repository, and if I click the question mark icon here now, it will take me to the object management documentation. So this is going to be very handy. You also have a command palette which gets activated by Control Alt and C combination, and this gives you very quick links to all these components. You can also start typing something and it will give you all the options. You can select open and it will give you this option. If you select it from here, it will directly take you to that particular component. So again, this is going to be very handy. You can report a issue. We have this help section and we have this report issue. You can directly report a issue, and this option is available after Katalon Studio version 4.4.5. It will not be available in earlier versions, so you can directly submit a ticket from here. You can also skip tests. For example, if you are in this test suite, and we have already seen that you can uncheck this box and it will skip the test. In case you are in the test cases and you want to skip a step, then you have to do a right click and disable the test step from there. So like this, you can skip the test steps as well as the test cases. Automation test in Katalon Studio. So in Katalon Studio, there are three basic ways of creating your test case. You can record and replay, you can use the manual mode, and then there is a script mode. Let's get started and look at all these three modes. So the first one is record and replay, where you can quickly record your test cases. Let us go to our Katalon Studio, and I'm clicking on this new Katalon project. So you can give any name here and click on OK. And now we have our project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to this new and I will create a test case. Let's give it any name, sample test case, and click OK. And now I have this test case editor, and here is the record button. So here you can click on this record button and it will give you a window for starting your recording. You can give the URL of your website here, and then you can start recording on any of these browsers. It will capture all the objects and it will capture all the actions, and it will give you a recorded test case. So this is how you can do record and replay. Some of the major features of this mode are: you can quickly record your test cases, it will capture your actions and your objects, you can then edit your recorded steps, and then you can replay it on any of the available browsers. The second one is the manual mode, where you can manually add the actions and keywords into your test case. Let us go to our test case, and if you go down, you have this manual tab. Click here and you will get this window. You can click on this add button and you can add a keyword. You can add decision making statements and other statements and methods. So let us click on web UI keyword, and here you will get all the options to add your keywords, and then you can add your object references, input, output and description, and so on, and so you can create your entire test case in the manual mode. Some of the major features of manual mode are: you can add your keywords and actions stepwise, you can refer to any of the captured objects, you can also drag and drop the keywords directly into the manual text editor, and then you can replay it with using any of the available browsers. We will look into this into more details in the coming sessions. The last one is the script mode, where you can script using Java or Groovy languages. Let us go to our Katalon Studio, and again if you go down, you can see this is the script mode. Click here and you will have this window coming up. You can start scripting your test cases, you can add your keywords, you can add objects and your customized keywords. So this is more like you will do a scripting in Selenium using Java, and you can use Groovy as well here, and it is very intuitive. We will look into the next sessions how exactly we can use this mode. Some of the major features of script mode are: you can start creating your test cases through scripting, you can use Java Groovy, you can drag and drop objects directly into the scripts, and then you can replay with any of the available browsers. Some quick tips: when you start creating your test cases, you can use all the three modes to prepare your final automated test. Ideally, you can start with the recording of your test so that you have all your steps and objects captured, and then you can go to the manual mode and do the editing and updates as per your requirement. You might have to go to the script mode where you want to add some more customized actions, and then you can replay your created test. So today we looked at these three modes of creating your. Welcome to this session on how to record and replay in Katalon Studio. Today in this session we are going to learn how do we record our first test case, how can we add assertions, checkpoints, how can we edit or update our test case, and then finally we will replay our recorded test. We will also look at some useful tips. Let's get started, and the first thing is we have to record our test case. So for that, let us go to our Katalon Studio, and I'm going to create a new Katalon project, and I will name it as test project and hit the OK button. So this is going to create a new test project, and now we will create a new test case inside the project. So go to this new test case and I will name it as test1 and hit the OK button. So this test1 is now ready for us, and now we can start recording our test case by clicking on this record button. So before we do that, let us see what exactly we are going to record. We will go to this URL, which is Enterprise Demo Orange HRM. So this is the website. So this is a demo website for Orange HRM, and it gives us all the username and passwords for different roles, and we are going to use this particular website. I will also make this URL available in the description of this video, and then we are going to do a login, do some basic actions, and then we will finally exit. So let us go and hit this record button. It is giving us a record window. Here we can give this URL, the starting URL, and now you can start recording on any of these available browsers. So let us select the Chrome browser here, and I will also split my screen so that you can see the recorded actions. So I am doing a login by giving a username, a password, hit on the login button. Now I'll go to the timesheets menu. I will hit on the search button and I want to validate this particular error message. So the second thing we have to do is we have to add validations or the checkpoints. So now on your recording window, if you go to your recording window, you can click on this add button and add validation point, and you will get this action verify element present. If you hit the drop down, you will get all the checkpoints keywords. So one good thing is that you can see it is giving us only the checkpoints keywords, not any other keywords, and you can select the object by clicking on the elements section, and here I can select the object. This is something I want to validate, and that's it. So I have added a validation point, and now I can stop my recording, and now we have this recorded test case ready. Let us quickly look into this recording window. We have three sections. This is the section where we have all our captured objects. So all the objects that we interacted during our recording sessions are captured here. The below section is the section for the object properties. So in case you select any of this object here, its properties will be displayed here. And then we have this actions. So all the actions that we recorded are being displayed here. And now you can hit the OK button, and it is asking us to add our elements to the object repository. The good thing is we are getting all these checkboxes. So if you want to skip any object, you can uncheck it, and then you can add all these elements or the captured objects to the object repository. One suggestion is instead of adding all this to the default object repository, we can create a new folder. So I will hit the new folder here, and I will name it as test1 underscore or. Or is the abbreviation for object repository. So in future, whenever I have to edit, I know that test1 underscore or is the object repository for test1. Hit the OK button and OK here, and now our test case is ready. The third thing is we can edit or update in manual mode. So you can see now we are into the manual mode here, and now we can add new actions, or we can delete these actions, we can move it up or down, or anything we can do in the manual mode. We will look into more details in the manual mode in our coming sessions. So for now, let us replay our test case in any of the available browsers. So now our test case is ready. Let us save this, and now for replaying, you go to the run button, and we have all these options. So we have recorded in Chrome. Let us select Firefox for replaying our test case. So this is launching our test case. It should open a Firefox browser and replay our recorded test case. Let us wait for the background process to complete, and yes, now it is opening a Firefox browser. And now it is replaying our recorded test. So we logged in, it will go to the timesheet, and then it will search and validate, and yes, it has finished. And now you can see this is done. If you go down to the log viewer, double click here, and you are getting all the results or the information here. The good thing is you can filter it. If I want to see all the information, I can hit the all button. If I just want to see the past, I will filter the pass, fail, errors, warnings, and so on. So this is going to be very useful. You can also create a report by adding this test case to a test suite and then generate a report out of this. This is something we will look into more details in the coming sessions. Let us look at some useful tips. So while you are recording, in case you need to update any object identifiers, or you want to capture new objects, what you can do is you can use the object repository to update your object identifiers. Let us go to our object repository, and I'm going to this input submit button, and it will list out all the details of this object, all the attributes and the identifier. So you can see as of now it is detecting this object by these two identifiers, which is tag and xpath. So you can edit this, you can select some other identifier, or you can uncheck the already selected ones, and also you can go here match conditions, and you can say is it equals or contains, or you can match a regular expression and so on. So this is how you can very quickly update your object identifier. The second thing is, in case you want to capture a new object, what you can do is you can go to this spy web at the top menu, spy web. It will open this window, and again you have to give a URL. So I'm going to give my same URL here, and you can hit the start button. Any of these browser, let us select Firefox, and you can see it is opening our URL on a Firefox browser. And now you can see wherever I am taking my cursor, it is highlighting that object, and you can press the Alt and the twiddle key or the backward key on your keyboard to capture that object. For example, I want to capture this login button. I will highlight it and enter the Alt plus twiddle key, and you can see here I will close this now. It has not captured. So I'll use a Chrome browser. I'll hit the Alt plus twiddle key, and it has captured the object here. So you can now add this object to a object repository if you wish. I'm cancelling it as of now, and this is how you can add or capture new objects. Let us do a very quick recap. Today in this session we learned how do we record our first test case, how do we add assertions and checkpoints, how can we edit manual mode, how can we create our test in manual mode, and how can we edit our test. We will also look at some useful tips towards the end of this session. Let's get started. What is manual mode? Let me go to our Katalon Studio, and before we start creating our test, let us understand what is manual mode. So in Katalon Studio, we have already seen that we have three modes of test case creation. First mode is record and replay that we have already seen in our earlier sessions, and then we have a manual mode, and we have a script mode. So in manual mode, a user can create a test by manually adding the steps and adding actions and keywords. We will look exactly how to do that in this session. So now we have to create our test in manual mode. What exactly we are going to automate is this scenario where we will go to this particular URL, which is a demo site for Orange HRM. Let us go here. This is the URL. I will make this URL available in the description of the video as well. And here we will do a login. We will do add some checkpoints, and then we will exit. Okay. So for automating this test, what exactly we are going to do is we are going to do three basic steps. Step one is we will capture all the objects to be used in the test. So let us do that. Let us go to our Katalon Studio, and let us go to spy web. This is the spy web icon. I'm going here, and here I can start with a URL and then start capturing my objects. So I will enter this URL. Let me copy it from here, and I will add it here, and I will say start. You can select any of these browsers. Let me select Chrome here, and you can see this Chrome browser has come, and now I can hover over any object or any element, and then I can press Alt plus twiddle key on my keyboard, and the object will be captured and you can see that object here in the captured object. So let us do that. The first thing is we have to capture this username text box. So I will go here and press Alt plus twiddle key, and you can see it has come here in the captured objects. Then I will go to this password text box. I will press Alt plus twiddle key and then login button. And now I have to go to the next page, so I will actually log in. And in this on this site you have all these username and passwords. You can use any of these username and passwords. I am using the admin. I'll click login here, and now I am on the home page. Here I just want to validate this text or this object, welcome admin. So I will again press Alt plus twiddle key, and then I want to click on this timesheets. So again I will press Alt plus twiddle key, and I'll now close my browser, and you can see all these objects have been captured. Now we can click on this add objects to repository button. So I'll click here, and all these objects have come here. You can check or uncheck any object if you do not want to add it, and now you can add it to the default object repository, or you can create a new folder. It is always suggested that you create a new folder so that you know this is a separate test case, and I will create it as a folder name test underscore 2 underscore or. Or is the abbreviation for object repository, and test2 is the test that I'm going to create. So in future I will know that this object repository is for test2. I will click OK and OK, and if I close this window, you can see inside the object repository I have test2 dot underscore or folder, and I have all my objects here. Now there are other ways as well to capture objects. If you are on Chrome, you can right click and do inspect, and it will go give you the text, username and other things, and you can capture objects with these IDs. You can go to Firefox, and again you can do a right click, inspect element, or you can use plugins like Firebug which are available for Firefox, and it will help you identifying the objects like this. Or if you are on Safari, again you can do the same thing. You can do right click and inspect element. So right click and inspect element. In case you do not get inspect element in Safari, you can go to the Safari preferences and advanced, and make sure you have this show develop menu in menu bar checked, and then you will get the inspect element. So there are different ways of capturing objects. The straightforward way that Katalon Studio provides us is the spy web, so we have used that straightforward options, and now we have to create our test in manual mode. So let us do that. I'm going to my Katalon Studio, and I'm going to new test case, and here I will give test case name as test underscore 2. We have already created test underscore 1 in our earlier sessions while we were demoing record and replay. So I will create test underscore 2 and say OK. And it has created the test, and then we have to run the test. But before that we have to actually create our steps. So you can see if you go down, this is the manual mode. So it by default opens in the manual mode. You can change these in the preferences as well. But now we have to start creating our test case. So for that, once you are in manual mode, you can go to add, and you can add any of these keywords. I will say web UI keyword, and here you can start typing. So I want to open browser. I will say start typing open browser, and it has given me the option. It also shows me all the information about this keyword, and if you click on this eye icon, it will take you to the documentation for this keyword. So for now I'll just click here open browser, and there is no object, but for input I have to give the URL. I can keep it optional, and then I can use another keyword as navigate and then give the URL, but I will give it here as well. So let me just go to this URL, copy this URL from here, and I will give it inside here and say OK. Okay. So I have opened the browser and I have gone to this URL. The next thing is I have to do a login, right? So Now I will add another keyword which will be set text. So I have got this set text, and here I have to add an object. So I can go to here object repository, and I have to add this object input txt password. So I can double click here, it gives me the options. I can go here and say select this, and in the input I will give the username admin. Okay, and then the next action is again I have to add a password. Now another good thing in Katalon Studio is you can go to this keywords icon, this keyword browser, click here, and you will get all the built-in keywords. Go here, and I want to add a keyword for web UI. Inside this category I am going to text, and I have got a set text here, right? So you can browse keywords like that. Also you can drag and drop it directly in the manual mode. So it has come here, and again I have to add the object which is this one. I think we made a mistake. This object is username, which is this one, and now we will have password. So again you can drag and drop this object as well in the manual mode, and then add the password. So we have done that. Then we have to click on the login button. So again you can do add, click, object, I will drag and drop, and that's it. And then we have to add a checkpoint. So let us add verify text present, and I will just say this is text should be welcome admin. So this is our checkpoint, and then again let us click on an image. So I will say click and add this particular image, and then at the end I will add a close browser step. So close browser. So our test is ready. Okay, now we have to run our test. So I will just save it. I will go to run, and I have created on I have captured the objects on Chrome. So let us run it on Firefox. So this is launching the test case. It will open a Firefox browser, and let us see if it runs our manually created test case or not. Yes, it is running the Firefox browser now. It will open the browser. This browser is open. It's going to the URL. Yes, it is doing all the actions, and it has closed the browser, and our test is done. Let us go to the log viewer and see all our steps passed. We can get all the information here by filtering from this menu, and everything is pass. So we have created our test in manual mode and also executed it. Now suppose you have created your test case, but you now need to edit or do some more actions. So again we have this menu options here, this toolbar. We can add any of these actions or keywords right from here. You can delete, move up and down, and then we have already seen how do we add or update objects, and then the inputs and other things. So this is very intuitive and very easy in the manual mode. Let us look at some useful tips. How to proceed on failure. So for example, your test step fails. What will happen after that? Let us go to our Katalon Studio, and I'm going to my step number 5, and I will deliberately fail this step. Let me go here, and let me change this text to welcome admins, and this should fail this step because it will not find this particular text. Let me save it and run it again. So I have deliberately edited my text so that the step should fail, and we want to see what exactly happens if there is any failure inside a test case. So it is opening my Firefox browser now, and let us wait for the test to get completed. So it is going to the login screen. We'll enter the username, password, click on login, and let us see what happens now. Okay, so see, it even did not close the browser, which was our next step. And if I go back to my Katalon Studio and I go to the log viewer, you can see this all failed. Okay, and then the test case did not proceed after the failure. So how to handle this? What we can do is, you can go to your project settings and then go to the test case. So I'm going to my Katalon Studio project menu, and then I'm going to settings, and here if you go to the test case option, you have this default failure handling for test step, and here we have these three options. Okay, so we have these three options. Let us see what all this means. Stop on failure is by default selected. I will select continue on failure, and let us see what happens now. I will say okay, and now let us run our test case once again, and let us see what happens now. So it is launching the test case. It's opening the Firefox browser now. And yes, let us watch what happens now. Enter the username, password, click on login button. And yes, the test is done. Let us go to our log viewer, and you can see this step failed, but it did not stop. It went to the next step, and it went to the next step, and then finally it said the test case is failed because one of the steps failed. Okay, so this is how you can proceed on failure. Now there is another thing that you might want, that even if the test fails, a step fails, the step is optional, so it should not be displayed as a failure. So for that, again you can go to your project settings, and this time we will say, we will go to test case and we will say optional. So this makes it optional, so it will not show as a failure. I will say okay, and save our test case and run it again, and let us see what happens now. It's launching the test case. It's opening the browser now. And let us wait for the test case to get completed, and we will see the results after that. And yes, the test got completed, and now you can see in the log viewer the failed step is just shown as a warning, and even the test case is now considered as pass. It is not considered as fail. Okay, so this is what we can do. We have all these three options, and you can go to the Katalon Studio website, go to documentation and user guide. Inside, go to create automation test, and we have this failure handling. If you go here, they have explained in detail all these three steps. Okay, what does stop on failure, continue on failure, and what does optional means. Okay, so this is how we can do it. One more tip is how you can set these options per step. So this is something you will need, right? You do not want all the steps to have a default behavior. You want that verify text present should be optional, but others should not be. So what you can do is, you can go to that step, do a right click, and then set it from here, change failure handling. So this is optional, but yes, this is not optional. So if I right click here, I can say this is stop on failure. So you can also see these icons get changed accordingly. So this is how you can set the proceed on failure options. Let us do a very quick recap. In this session, we learned what is manual mode, how do we create tests in manual mode, how we can edit and update, and other features of the manual mode, and we also looked at some useful tips. Going to learn what is script mode, how do we create our test in script mode, how do we run and validate, and we will look at some useful tips. Let's get started. What is script mode? In Katalon Studio, we know we have three modes of test case creation. First one is record and playback, second one is manual mode, and then we have the script mode. We have already seen and learned the record and playback and manual mode in our earlier sessions. Let us go to the script mode. So in Katalon Studio, you can use a script mode to create your test case with scripts, and you can use some built-in or custom keywords to create your scripts, and you have options for creating your scripts in Java or Groovy. So let us begin and let us see how do we create test in script mode. Before we do that, let us see exactly what are we going to automate. So we are going to go to our browser and we are going to go to this particular website lifecharger.org. So let us go, and this is the website lifecharger.org, and this is my website where I write blogs. So let us test this website today, and we are going to do some actions like click, add some text, do some check validations, and then we are going to close our browser. So now we know what exactly we are going to do. Let us see how exactly we are going to automate this in script mode. We are going to do 4 basic and easy steps. The first one is we have to capture our objects that we need to use during our test. So let us go to our Katalon Studio, and I'm going to spy web, and here I will give the URL and then start the browser. So let me just copy this URL from here, give it here, and now I can start on any of these browsers. Let me select Chrome, and yes, it is opening up. And now I can select any of the objects and then press the Alt plus twiddle key on my keyboard to capture the object, and you will see the captured objects coming here. So I will capture this home button, and then this search box, this search button, and maybe some other links. And I think that's it. Let me close this, and now we have these objects captured. Let me add it to some object repository. I will select new, and the test case that I'm going to create will be test3, so I will name it as test3 underscore or means object repository, and I'll click OK here and OK here, and let me close this window. So you can see we have our test3 underscore or object repository created. Okay, so we have captured our objects. Now let us create a new test case and go to the script editor. So I am going to this new button, test case, and let me name, we have already used our test1 for record and replay and test2 for manual mode. So let us say test3 here and say OK. Our test3 has come here, and if you go down you can see the manual editor and then the script editor. So this time we have to go to the script editor, and as soon as you go here you will see some import statements are already present, and these are some packages, that default packages of Katalon Studio that are already imported, and now we can start creating our scripts here. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to create the test in script mode. So let us start writing our script, and the first thing we have to do is we have to open browser. So we can start writing by using the package web UI. This is the package of Katalon Studio which has all the inbuilt keywords, and you can press dot and press Control spacebar on your keyboard, and it will give you auto suggestions for code completion. So I will use open browser and hit enter, and now I have to give my URL. So I can go to my website and copy this link here and give it here inside quotes. So this will open my browser and go to this particular URL, and then we have to do some click operation. So again I will go to web UI dot click, and this has given me this auto suggestions. I'll again click enter, and now I have to give the object ID here. So in Katalon Studio, what you can do is you can drag and drop the objects directly. So suppose I want to click on this particular object, I will drag it and drop it here. Let me just cut it from here. And you can see find test object is the statement you will use to find or refer to any object. So you can do it manually, but you can do drag and drop. So let me put this inside this, click brackets, and this should click on this object. Okay, and let us say then we have to do some text. So again we will say web UI dot set text, and here we have to give the object ID and then the text we have to set. So let us set the text into the search box as life, and this object ID will be this input box. So let me again drag and drop it here. Okay, now I can also verify element. So for that we can use another keyword, and in case you are finding it difficult to find the keywords, you can always go to this keywords browser, hit this, and you will get all the built-in keywords in categories. So if I go to web UI, you will can find all these keywords, right? And they have categorized it, so it will be very easy to find the keywords. So here I have to verify element present. So again I will say verify element present, and yes, there is a keyword. I will just hit enter, and now I have to give the object here. So again I will say this home button, I want to see if it is present. I will give it here. And what is this 0? See, you can always go to this verify element present and you will get this option. So it is giving us all the information about this keyword. So you can see here, this is the timeout. So I can increase the timeout to, let us say, 4 seconds. Okay, and then finally I need to close the browser. So again I will say web UI dot close browser, and this has created my test in script mode. Let me save it and let us try to run it, and let us see what happens. So I have hit the run button and it is running on the default browser, which should be Firefox, and yes, it is running on Firefox. Let the browser come up. Starting the browser, it's going to the URL, and yes, it is doing the actions, and yes, it did all the actions and then close the browsers. We can go to the log view and we can see all the information, all the pass fail and other things. So everything passed in our case. So this is how we can create our test in script mode. The fourth step, which is run and validate, we have already done this. Let us look at some useful tips. So how do you skip test in script mode? So suppose you want to skip some test case, you can use the annotation not run in front of that particular step. So for example, you do not want to run this particular step, you can say not underscore run and a colon. So this particular annotation will skip this particular step. And in case you are in manual mode, you can do the same thing by doing a right click and do a disable, which we have already seen in our last session. So the good thing in Katalon Studio is whatever you are doing in script mode, it will be reflected in the manual mode. So if I switch to the manual mode now, I'm going to hit this manual mode button, and you can see whatever we have done in our script mode is getting reflected here. And whenever you will add something in the manual mode, the same will get reflected in the script mode. So you can switch the perspective and you can make the changes. So if I do, let us say this third step, set text, if I do a right click and I do disable, and if I switch to the script mode, and you can see this set text, it has already added this not run annotation in front of this particular step. So this will not run this particular step, it will skip it, and the same will be shown in the report as well. So this not run test steps will be shown under the not run filter in the report as well. There are some useful links in case you want to look at the documentation or the information about built-in keywords. You can go to Katalon Studio. I'm going to the Katalon Studio website, and here go to documentation, go to keyword index, and we have these links for built-in keywords and built-in functions. So here you will get all the information about all the built-in keywords present inside Katalon Studio. So whenever you want to have some more information about any of the keywords, just go here. They have categorized it very well, and then you can look at all the information about that keyword, and the same thing you can do with the built-in functions as well. So this is the link for built-in functions. This will be very useful and very handy. Let us do a very quick recap. Today in this session we learned what is script mode, how do we create test in script to see what is a test suite, and how do we create and run a test suite in Katalon Studio. We will also look at some useful tips. Let's get started. So what is a test suite? So test suite in very simple words is a collection of test cases, and it is a logical collection, and with that we mean that the test cases are grouped into logical categories. Let us take an example. You have multiple test cases for your application. Some of these test cases will be for login, some others will be for transaction, and then there will be some test cases for logout. So we can categorize and group these test cases accordingly into test suite. So there will be a test suite where we can group all the login test cases. Similarly, we can group the transaction and the logout test cases, and therefore we can create these logical categories for all the test cases in our application. Let us see how do we create and run test suite in Katalon Studio. I'm going to my Katalon Studio, and here you can see, if you go to test cases, these are the 3 test cases that we created in our earlier sessions. Now we are going to create a test suite. So let us go to this new button and select test suite. You can give any name. I'm saying test suite 1, and hit the OK button, and we have this test suite created. So let us look into this test suite window. Here you can go to this add button, and as soon as you will click here, you will get this test case browser, and here all your test cases will be listed out. You can do a filter by doing a search, and then you can select the test cases that you want to add to this test suite, and then select OK. So you will see all these test cases are now a part of this test suite, and now you can use this move up, move down, delete buttons to edit your test suite. And if you go to this section here, the run section, you can see here are some checkboxes. So if you uncheck any of these test cases, that will not be executed as part of this particular test suite. So let us uncheck test 2, and now we can save our test suite, and now we can run it by hitting this run button, and we can run on any of these browsers. So let us select Chrome, and let us run our test suite. So what it should do is it should run test case number 1 and test case number 3. It should not run test case number 2. So it is launching the Chrome browser. And it is running our test case number 1, which we recorded and created for the Orange HRM website. And this is done, and now it is running the third test case that we created for our lifecharger.org website. And yes, this is now done, and let us look at the log viewer. You can see we have got all these logs as we get while running our test cases, and all these are coming here. And what you can do is you can look at the reports by going to this report section, and you can see our test suite, and this is the report. Let us go to our report, and it is giving us all this information about the test cases. You can filter out the pass, failed, errors and incomplete from here, and then here you can see the summary, the execution settings, the execution environment. We will look into reports into more details in a separate session, but for now you can just see this. You can go to show test case details here, and then whatever test case you will select, you will get the corresponding details of that test case execution. Again, it is very handy and useful. You have this toolbar where you can select and filter out the results, and then you can look at all the logs and all the information per test case and per step. So this is how you can create and you can run your test case and you can view your report. Let us look at some useful tips. So if you go to your test suite, there is an execution information section where you can set the timeout, the retry count, you can add email recipients, and you can also look at the last run report. So let us go to our test suite section, and here you can see this section, execution information. Click here, and then here you can set the user defined timeout, or you can use the default timeout. So the default timeout is set under project settings, and if you go to execution and you go to default, you can see here is the timeout set. You can set some seconds here, or this is the default, but if you want to override it, you can override it here for your particular test suite. You can look at the last report by clicking here. It is showing me our last execution report, or you can set the retry count, and of course you would want to set it only for the failed test cases most probably, and also you can set the email recipients here. We will look into a separate section how do we configure and add email reports to our Katalon Studio. So this is how you can set the test suite configurations. Also, one of the other tip is you can create folders to categorize your test cases. So you can see here we have our test cases, but they are not categorized. So what you can do is you can create folders. I can go to new folder, and let us say I have login test cases. I will create a folder by name login, and then whatever test cases are for login, I can just move it inside this folder. So you can see this is how we can categorize our test cases. And now if we create a new test suite, let me go to new and create a test suite, and let me name it as test suite 2, and here I have got this test suite 2. If I go to add, now you can see I am getting this folder, and inside this we have these two test cases. So it will be very useful if you can categorize your test cases into folders. When you have a large application and a lot of test cases, it will be very useful to categorize your test cases, which will be easy for referencing. Welcome to this session on how to run your tests in parallel using test suite collection. In this session we will understand what is test suite collection, why and how do we create test suite collection. So we are going to learn what is a test suite collection, why is it required, and how to create and run test suite collection in Katalon Studio. We will also look at some useful tips towards the end of this session. So let us start. In very simple words, test suite collection is a collection of test suites. Let us understand this. In our earlier session we have seen that we can have multiple test cases in our application, and these test cases can be grouped logically into different groups, and every group can be assigned to a test suite. So we can have multiple test suites in our application. Now we can also assign these test suites to some particular group, and this grouping can be logical. The grouping of these test suites can vary. You can group these test suites by your application modules. You can also group these test suites by the way they are executed. For example, you can have a test suite collection which will run all your test suites on some particular environment using Chrome browser, and then there can be another test suite collection which will run all your test cases on a Firefox browser. So we can do this logical grouping in test suite collection. Let us understand why do we need test suite collections. So we have already seen that we can group our test suites logically using test suite collection. We can also run our test suites in sequence or in parallel using test suite collection, or you can run your test suites on different environment or a different browser using test suite collection. We will look into it more details. So now let us create a test suite collection and let us see how can we run our tests in parallel. Let us go to our Katalon studio, and I'm here on my test project that we have been creating in our earlier sessions. This project has 3 test cases, and we have also created these 2 test suites in our last session. You can watch the last session to see how exactly do we create test suite. And let us go to our test suite 1, and here we have 3 test cases, and we have enabled just one test case to run. So let it remain as it is. Let us go to our test suite 2, and here again we have one test case and it is enabled. So we have 2 test suites. Let us go and create a test suite collection now. So I'm going to this new button and click on test suite collection, and here you can give any name. I am saying test suite collection 1 and hit the OK button. So now we have this test suite collection. Let us see this window. We have this add button. As soon as you click the add button, we get all the options for adding the test suites present in our project. So I am going to add both of these test suites and click OK. Now let us see, you have this run with column. Here we can select the browser. So suppose you want to run it with Chrome browser, we can select Chrome for test suite 1, and for test suite 2 let us keep Firefox. And again here is the run options. You can check or uncheck to enable or disable the test suite for execution. So here we have added 2 test suites and we have configured the browser and both of them are enabled. Now you can go to this execution information section here, and here we have this execution mode. You can run the test suites in sequential mode or in parallel. Of course we are more interested to see the parallel mode, so let us select this, save our test case, and you can hit this execute button which will start running the test suite collection. So you can see the test suite collection has started. So it should run my test suite 1 on Chrome browser and test suite 2 on Firefox browser. And yes, I can see both Chrome and Firefox browsers are opening up. Let me just split my screen so that you can see both of these executions. And you can see the first test suite, the test case we have recorded for Orange HRM, and the second test suite has test case that we have recorded for Live Charger website, and both of them are completed. Let us go to the log viewer, and you can see everything has passed, and this is the information. Now you can also go to the report section here, and here you will get the report for this test suite collection execution. Double click here, and here you can get the report. It shows the details. Click on the details and it will give you the details of this execution, the execution settings, execution environment, and then this is the same report that we get after executing a test suite. We will look into reports into more details in the coming section. So this is how you can create and execute your tests in parallel using test suite collection. Let us look at some useful tips. You can add the test suite multiple times inside a test suite collection, and it can enable you to run your test suites on different browsers or different environments. Let us look here. Let us go to our test suite collection, and we have added test suite 1. I'm going to add button, and I'm going to add test suite 1 again. So we have test suite 1 2 times, and you can see first time it is running on Chrome browser, and the second time it is running on Firefox browser. So this is how you can run the same tests on multiple environments using test suite collection. Let us do a very quick recap. Today we learned what is test suite collection, why is it required, and how can we run our tests in parallel in Katalon Studio. In Katalon Studio we have reports generated after test case execution, test suite execution, and test suite collection execution. Today we are going to look into these three reports, and we will also look at some useful tips. Let's get started and let us look at our test case reports. Let us go to our Katalon Studio, and we have this test case 1 that we have recorded in our earlier session for Orange HRM website. I have executed this test case, so I'm not going to re-execute it. To save time, let us directly go to this log viewer. So once you will execute your test case, you will get this log viewer, and you can double click it so that it becomes maximized, and here you can see the very first row gives you the run information, the pass, fails, and error count, and then in this section you can see the filters. So you can filter these logs based on all these criteria, pass, failed, error, and so on, and you can go to any of the step. For example, I want to know why did this step failed. I can double click it and it will give me the root cause of the failure. So this is going to be very useful to troubleshoot your execution. And if you go to the top, here you have this tree view. If you click here, you will get your logs generated in a tree view. So the same logs that we were looking in the standard view are now in the tree view, and again here you can go to any step, you can maximize, and it will also give you the messages. For example, this test case failed because of this error, and also it gives you this particular line number. If you go here, click here, it will take you to that particular line where the failure happened. So this is going to be very efficient and useful while you are troubleshooting your runs. So this is about the test case report, and some of the major features are you have these execution filters, you have the tree view, and you have the scroll log. Let us look at the scroll log here. This is the icon for scroll log, and the functionality of scroll log is while your test case is running, you can look into the log viewer. The logs are also generated dynamically, so the latest logs are generated at the bottom and the earlier logs keep going up. In case you want to freeze the logs, you can click this scroll log so that the logs will get freezed, and then you can troubleshoot. So we have the scroll log, and also the test case report is not preserved, so this is not a historical report. These logs will be preserved for the session of Katalon Studio. Once you close your Katalon Studio, you will not get back these logs. So this was about test case report. Let us go and look into test suite report. Again, I am going to my Katalon Studio, and we have these test suites created earlier. I have created test suite 3 where we have these two test cases, and I have already run it, and I am going to the reports section. Inside this I have test suite 3 and this report. So the name is the year, month, date, and the time. Let us double click here, and this is the report. You get this overview of the test suite, how many test cases are there, what is the status of execution. Again we get these filters, so you can filter out the pass, failed, and other options. So this will be very useful when you have lots of test cases in your test suite and you want to filter out just the failed ones or the passed ones. And then if you go down, you have this summary section. So here in the summary you can see the summary of this test suite, how many total test cases were ran, passed, failed, and other options. Then we have this execution settings. So again you have this some useful information here, and then we have the execution environment. So here this will be very useful if you want to know the Selenium version, the Katalon Studio version, the browser, or the operating system on which your test suite ran. And then we have this option for show test case details. Let me just maximize this window and go to this show test case details. And now if I will click on any of the test case here, its corresponding details will be fetched here. So let me click on test 1, and you can see all the details of test 1 execution are being displayed here. Again, we have a very handy filter here, so I can filter out all these options, and if you click on any of the step, you can see at the below section the details are getting generated. Okay, so this is again going to be very useful, and you can also expand and look at the steps. We have the information section, which gives us the execution information of this test case, and the integration section, which is for integration with test management tools, which we will look into it later. So we get all these features in test suite report. One other thing is, you can go to the test suite report here, and if you right click it and you go to the open containing folder, it will take you to the folder where the report has been physically written in our disk, and here you can get a CSV file of your report. So this is the CSV file. You also get these logs and execution properties, and then you have this report.html file. If you will click this, you will get the HTML file of your report, and here you can go and look at the details. So it has all those details that we have seen earlier. And let me go to the test step that failed, and here you are getting the actual root cause of the failure, and then you get the screenshot as well. So it will help you a lot in troubleshooting your execution. So let us look at the major features of test suite report. So this is created after test suite execution. It is named with timestamp. It provides all the summary plus details, and we also get a HTML report. And test suite report is preserved, and therefore it's a historical report. It is written to your disk, so even if you exit your Katalon Studio, this report will be preserved. Let us now look at test suite collection report. Again, I am going to my Katalon Studio, and this is our test suite collection, which has these 3 test suites, and we have ran the first 2. And if again you go to the reports section, we have our test suite collection report generated here. Let me bring this up, and you can see this is the report, and here you get the overview of all the test suites that got executed, the environment on which they got executed, the status, and the count of test cases that failed. And then you have this show details link. If you click here, it will again take you to the test suite report that we just saw. So this one was the overview of test suite collection, and then we get the test suite report as we have seen earlier. So this is the test suite report. Again, if you go here, right click, you can go to open containing folder and look at the HTML as well. So the major features of this report are the same as we have test suite reports. It has a timestamp name, it provides summary details, and it has HTML, and again this is a historical report and it is preserved. Let us look at some useful tips. So we can rename our reports to some meaningful names. You can go to your Katalon Studio and you can right click and rename the report. So you can say this is test suite collection report, and then maybe you can give some date here which will be more meaningful, or you can give your application module. So you can rename your reports. You can also view the captured screenshot in the reports. So let us go to any of our test suite reports, and if you go here, you can see this icon. This if you go down, wherever you take the screenshot, you can see this icon. If you click here, it will give you the screenshot that you captured. And then you can also open reports after execution. So you can go to your Katalon Studio, go to preferences, and here go to execution, and here you can see open report. So if you check this, the report will open after execution. If you keep it unchecked, the report will not open. You will have to open the report and your results via email in Katalon Studio. In this session, we are going to see how do we configure the email settings, and then we will run a test suite to test our email notification. We will also look at some useful tips. Let's get started. The very first step is we have to configure our email settings. So let us go to our Katalon Studio, and you can go to Project, Settings, and here you can go to the email option, and here you can set your email settings. Now you can go to this documentation of Katalon Studio on how to configure email settings in email preferences, and they have given all the steps, as well as they have given these settings for Gmail, Yahoo Mail and Outlook. So in our case we want to do it for Gmail, so let us do it. So in case of Gmail, we will give the host as smtp.gmail.com. You can give the port as 465, and then you can give any of your email from where the emails will be sent. So I am giving one email ID, and you have to give the password of this email, and then you can select the protocol SSL or TLS. You can check which one works for you, and then here you have to add a recipient. So I am adding another email ID for testing the recipient, and click OK, and now you can send a test email to check if our settings are successful or not. Now you can see it was unsuccessful. So one of the options that you can do is go to your email from where you are trying to send the email, go to my account, and here click on signing into Google. Here if you go down, you will get an option allow less secure off. You have to turn it on, and now let us try again. Let us try sending a test email again, and yes, you can see the test email was sent successfully. So we were able to do our settings successfully. You can also validate by going to the recipient, and let us see if we have got the mail, and yes, see, you can see this is a test email from Katalon. So our settings are now done, and you can apply and click OK, and now we have to test email notification. So for that, let us go to any test suite. So I am going to this test suite 1, and here if you go to the execution information, you have this mail recipients section, and here you can do add. So I will add any email. Let me add any email here and click OK. So this means that whenever this test suite will execute, this particular ID should receive an email notification. Save it and let us run our test suite. So this is running our test case now, and it is done, and you can see it is now sending email. So let us wait, and it is done. So now we should have received the email. Let us go to our account and let us see if we have got the email. So yes, we have got this email. Let us go here and let us see. So this is the email from Katalon Studio, and this is the test suite execution report, and it is giving us the report of our test suite execution. So this is how you can configure and send email notifications in Katalon Studio. Let us look at some useful tips. So you can go to your project settings and email, and you can check the option to send attachment. So let us go to our Katalon Studio, project settings and email, and we had earlier not selected this send attachment. If you select this, say apply and OK. So after this, whenever you will run your test suite, in the email notification you will also get the CSV file as well as the HTML file as an attachment within the email. Also, these are some links. I will make these links available in the description. These are the documentation for email settings. Look into what, why and how of command line execution. We will learn why is command mode important, how can we run our test in console or command mode both in Mac and Windows, and we will also look at some advantages of command mode execution. Let's get started. So why is command line or command mode execution important? So some major features of command line mode are: it is very easy to integrate with other systems like continuous integration, or if we have to call our command from some other application. The runs are faster because there is less memory consumption, because there is no dependency on UI. And at an enterprise level, when there are larger systems involved, it is always useful and recommended to have a command line mode of any tool. So any tool which does not have a command line execution, there are so many limitations to implement it at an enterprise level. Now let us see how can we do command or console mode execution in Katalon Studio. Let us start with the prerequisites, and the prerequisite is that Java should be installed on your system. So you can check if Java is installed by going to your terminal in case you are on Mac and say java space hyphen version. It should list out your Java version. If you are on Windows, you can do the same thing. You can run the same command on the command line. And in case Java is not installed on your system, you can go to these tutorials which explain step by step how to install Java on Windows and on Mac. I will make the link of these videos available in the description of this video, so you can take care of the Java prerequisites on your system. And then we have this documentation for command mode execution on Katalon Studio. So this is the page. You can open this page and you can follow along this tutorial as well. Let us now start with our Mac, and here I am going to my Katalon Studio. And once you are inside your project, you can go to this toolbar, and here you can see build CMD option. So this is the command builder. Click here and it will generate this window, and from here we can select the option. So the first one is we have to select the test suite. So one other thing is command line execution is available only for test suite and test suite collection. It is not available for test case. So here you can select the test suite for which you want to generate your command. You can select the browser on which you want to run it, and then you can select the output location for reports. Let us keep it as it is, and you can specify the email recipients, and you can specify display log on console, and then the retry count. And now you can click the generate command button. So this will generate our command. So now let me just copy this command. I'm copying it from here, and now let me just go to my terminal, and I will go to my applications folder. So you have to go to the folder wherever your Katalon Studio is installed, and on Mac by default it goes to applications. And now I will just paste the same command here and start the execution, and you can see it is starting the execution of our test suite. And yes, it is running our test suite 1 on Chrome browser. And you can also see these actions being performed. So this was a test case that we had, and it is doing all these actions, and then it will be sending out the email. So it will be sending out the email. Okay, so this is how you execute from command line on a Mac. Let us now go to our Windows and see the same thing. So now I'm going to my Windows, and it is the same thing. You have to go to your build CMD command line generator, and here you will select the test suite and select the browser, the reports folder, and if you want to send any mail recipient, display console log, and then generate command. So again this command is generated. I will just copy it, and now again I will go to my command line in Windows. So I am going to my command line, and I have to go to the location where my Katalon Studio is installed or located. So in my case I have just kept it inside my downloads. So I will copy this location, and here I will change the path. Okay, and now I have to just run the same command that was generated here. So I will copy it from here and then paste it here and run it, and now you can see it is again starting our execution on Katalon Studio. So it is running on Chrome, and yes, we can see the logs there. It's starting the Chrome browser and running our same test case, and again we can see all the logs coming on the console here, right? So this is how you do on Windows. Let us look at some of the advantages of command line execution. So the very first advantage is faster runs, because there is no UI involved, there is less memory consumption, so our runs are faster. You can auto schedule it because you have command. You can create a bat file or you can create a .sh file, and then you can auto schedule these bat files or sh files to run at some particular time. You can do parallel executions, although in Katalon Studio you can create test suite collections and run your test suites in parallel, and we have already seen this in our earlier sessions. But still, when you want to have multiple different test suites, you can create multiple commands and then run them in parallel. Again, very important, integration with other processes like the continuous integration system. There is no need to open the GUI. You can directly run the command, and then you can configure your parameters directly through a command or through a properties file. Let us look at some useful tips. So in console mode operation, you can also use a properties file, so that all the parameters that we were giving in the command, we can put them in a properties file and use them from there. You can also go to the documentation page, and if you go down, they have given the information about how to use this property file. So let us go to our Katalon Studio, and you have this command here, generate property file. If you click this one, it will ask you the location where you want to save it, and then you can just save it. And let us go to this location and let us look at our properties file. So this is our properties file, and it is giving all those parameters that we were giving in the command line. And now in the command line, you have to just say minus properties, the location of the property file, and minus run mode equals console. Let us Katalon Studio with Jenkins. This session is going to be very interesting and very easy. In this session, we are going to see how do we download and start Jenkins. We will create a job in Jenkins. We will add our Katalon Studio commands, and then we will run and validate our test. We will also look at some useful tips towards the end of this session. Let us start, and the very first prerequisite is we should have Jenkins installed on our system. So the very first thing we have to do is we have to download and start Jenkins, and we can do this in two very easy ways. The first one is we have to download Jenkins from this site. So let us go to our browser, and I'm saying download Jenkins, and you will get this site jenkins.io. I'm going here, and here you can hit on download Jenkins, and you can take this long-term stable release. So you can directly go to this var file and click here. It will download the jenkins.war on your system. I'm going to cancel this because I already have it, and you can see jenkins.war file is downloaded. So we have done step 1, and now we have to start Jenkins. So for that, you have to go to your command prompt or terminal and go to the location of your war file and run the command java-jar jenkins.war. So let us go to the terminal. In case you are on Windows, you will go to your command prompt and you will do the same actions. Let us go to our location of war file. In my case, I have placed my war file inside desktop. I have a folder called desktop as well, and then inside that I have a tools Jenkins, and here is my war file. So now I will say java space -jar space jenkins.war, and this command should start Jenkins on your local machine. So let's wait for the message. Jenkins is fully up and running, and yes, we have this message here now. So now you can go to your browser and you can say localhost 8080. 8080 is the default port where Jenkins has started. We can change the port as well, but for now let us go to our localhost 8080 and it should start our Jenkins. And yes, so this is the dashboard for Jenkins. So we have now started our Jenkins. Now in case you are completely new to Jenkins, I have a separate playlist and series on Jenkins which is very easy. In case you are complete beginner, you can watch that, and for this session you can watch the very first video, which is introduction to Jenkins. Here you will come to know exactly what is Jenkins, why do we use it, how do you download and start Jenkins. I will make the URL of this video available below in the description section, so you can go to my channel on YouTube and you will find a playlist for Jenkins here. So just go here and you have all these videos. The first one you can watch for this particular session in case you are completely new to Jenkins. So now we have our Jenkins up and running. We have to start our job or create our first job in Jenkins. So let us do that. Let us go to our Jenkins and you have this create new job, or you can also go here new item, and here you can enter any name. So let me say katalon test suite run, and this is going to be a freestyle project. So let me click here and now I will say OK. So now we have to add some details for our job. So this is the project name. You can add any description or keep it blank, and then you have to go to directly to the build and add build step. So here, in case you are on Mac, you will say execute shell. In case you are on Windows, you will say execute Windows batch command. So for now I am going to execute shell, and here I have to add my command. So in the last session we have already seen how do we generate a command in Katalon Studio. So you will go to Katalon Studio, go to this build cmd, and then you will select your test suite, you will select your browser and the other reports and other things. We have already seen this in our last session, and then you will say generate command, and this is the command that we have to use. The same command we will use in our Jenkins, and we also know that before using this command we have to go to the location of our Katalon executable. So in Mac I have to go to applications and then run the same command. In case of Windows, you have to go to the location where your katalon.exe is. The same thing we have seen in our last session. So I'm going to do the same thing. I will add this command in Jenkins, which is going to my applications folder, and then the command generated by Katalon Studio, this one. So I'll paste it here, and then I can just echo something. That's it. So this is what we have to do. The same command you are going to use for running your Katalon Studio project from command line, the same command we are using here, and then you can say apply and save. So you can see our, if you go to the dashboard, you can see our job has been created. Okay, so we have created the job in Jenkins. We have already added the Katalon Studio commands in the job. So now we have to run and test our job. So for that you can either go to this drop down and say build now. You can also go inside the job clicking here, and then from here you can say build now. So I'm clicking here, and then I'm also going to look at the console output. So yes, it is running the command. And yes, it is running our test suite 1 on the Chrome browser, and you can see it has opened the Chrome browser and running our test. and it is done. Let us go back to our Jenkins and see. Yes, see, it is sending the email and it is completing the execution. And yes, you can see it has finished, right? So now you can go back to the dashboard, and here you will find, if you go back to your project, you can see it has one run which was triggered at this particular time and it was successful, right? And then there are many other options that you can do with your job, which we will see in the later sections, but we were able to run our test and validate our job in Jenkins. Now, in case you are a complete beginner and new to Jenkins, you might get a question that what difference did it make running our Katalon Studio commands from Jenkins? We are still running the same command, we are still on our local system. The only difference is instead of running a command directly on the command prompt, we are using a tool. So we will look into it in the coming sessions. Now we can run scheduled tests. So if you go to your Jenkins, and I'm going to configure this job, and here if you go inside the build trigger section, you have this option build periodically, and if you go here you can also click on this question mark, which will give you the cron expression of how you can schedule your job periodically. So this basically means is, in case you want to run your job or this particular test at some specified interval or some specified period, you can give the expression here accordingly, and then you can schedule it so it will run on some scheduled time. So that is one advantage we get with Jenkins. The second one is we can run a test after a git commit. So for example, you are working in a team and you want that whenever somebody changes your project or makes any change or commit in the project, there should be a test triggered after that so that you can validate everything is okay. And then the most important is now we can integrate with the CI or continuous integration process. We will look into it into more detail in the coming sessions, but integration with any CI tool like Jenkins gives us a lot of power and a lot of flexibility. Let us look at some useful tips. So one of the things that you should always do is when you are generating your command in the Katalon Studio, keep this particular option, keep console log after execution completed, as off. So here if you go to your command generator, here is the option, keep this off so that when you add your command in Jenkins, it gets completed properly. It does not waits for the execution and the. Let's get started. Let us take an example. We have Tom, Kim and Henry working in a team and they want to work on the same project. So Tom creates a project and let us call this copy 1 of the project. He then gives this project to Kim. Kim makes some changes in the project and let us call this copy 2 of the project. Kim then hands this project to Henry and Henry adds his changes and let us call this copy 3 of the project. So now we have 3 copies of the project and now we have the challenge to merge all these changes and maintain a final copy. So one of the options can be Henry makes his changes and sends his project to Kim, and now Kim merges her changes and sends the final project to Tom. Tom then merges his changes, reviews all the changes and then maintains the final copy and distributes this copy to all the team members. Now this is a very manual approach. It's time consuming, error prone and then highly inefficient approach. So what to do now? There is another solution. They can use a common machine. So they will put a single copy of their project on a common machine. It can be a remote machine or on-premises machine, and then every one of the team member will log into this machine to work on the project. Now this approach has some other sets of challenges. Only one person can work at a time because we are now working on a single copy of the project. We are still not able to maintain any change history. We cannot revert to any earlier state of the project, and then we have to maintain multiple copies per change of the project. So again, this approach is manual, inefficient and time consuming. So we are back with the same problem. what to do now? We need a solution which can manage all our changes and version controlling in an automated way. The answer is using a version control system like Git. Let us see what can we do with Git. So the team can put their project on a remote repository or any common location, and then every member in the team will install Git on their system. And then they can do a pull from the common repository, so they will get a local copy of the project, and then they can work on their local copy, and then whenever they want they can push it back to the remote repository, and Git will take care of all the changes and version controlling. Let us look into more details what exactly will be the steps. Let us say this is Tom's system, Kim's system, and Henry's local system. So the step 1 will be all members will install Git on their system. So Tom will install Git, Kim as well as Henry. And then step 2 is any one of them can put their project to a remote repository like Bitbucket or GitHub. And then step 3 will be everyone will clone this project from the remote repository. So they will do a git clone, and Tom will get a local copy of the project. Similarly, Kim will get a local copy and Henry. And now step 4 will be everyone can now work on their local copies, and the good thing about Git is while working on the local copies they do not need to stay connected to the remote repository. Even they do not have the internet connection, they can still work on their local machines, and network connection will be required only at the time of cloning, pulling or pushing of the project. So step 5 will be after they have done with their changes, they can push their changes back to the remote repository. So they will do a git add, git commit, and finally do a git push and add their changes to the remote repository. And whenever they want, they can do a git pull and they will get the latest changes on their local. So whatever changes others have done, they will get on their local system. Welcome to this session on integration with Git. Let us say hi to Tom and Kim, who are going to help us understand integration of Git in Katalon Studio. In this session we are going to see how do we add project to Git, how do we clone project from a repository, how do we commit, pull and push. We will also look at some useful tips. In this session Tom is going to create a remote repository, and then he will create a Katalon Studio project, and then he will clone the repository into Katalon Studio. And then Kim is going to clone the project created by Tom. She will make some changes, and then finally she will push the changes to the repository, and both of them will merge their changes. Let us begin, and before we go to step 1 we have to enable Git into Katalon Studio. So let us go to our Katalon Studio, and you can see this Git icon is disabled. So we will go to Preferences, Katalon, and inside this go to Git, and then we have to enable Git integration, say apply and OK, and now you can see this Git icon is enabled. So now let us go to step 1, and we have to create a repository on GitHub. You can also use Bitbucket or GitLab or any other remote repository. So let us go to our browser and say GitHub, and I'm going to this very first option, github.com, and here you can sign up or sign in if you already have an account. I have an account, so I'm going to sign in, and then let us go to this new and create a new repository, and I will say this is Katalon git test. We can initialize it with a readme and create a repository. So now this repository is created, and now we have to create a Katalon Studio project. So let us go to our Katalon Studio, and I am going to new Katalon project, and let us say Katalon git test and say OK. So this project is created now, and step 3 is we have to now clone the remote repository into our Katalon Studio. So let us go here and let us go to Git and say clone project, and here we have to give the location of the project. So this location we will get from our GitHub. Click on this clone or download and copy this URL, and this is something we will give here. And you can give the username password for GitHub and say next, next, and finish. And you can see this location will change, so it will save this project to a new location, and now we have cloned our remote repository. So now we have to check our remote repository. So you can see as of now we just have a readme file. So what we can do is we can go to now git and commit, and here you will get this option. You have to add all these changes or whatever changes you want to the staged area, and then give any commit message adding project, and then you can do a commit and push later, or you can do a commit and push at the same time. So I'm doing commit and push, and let us see if it pushes all my changes to the remote. And yes, it is done. Say OK. And now let us go and check the remote repository now. So now I will refresh this, and yes, you can see all my project has now come here, and we can also see there are 2 commits. If I click go here, you can see this is the commit I just did, adding project. So now we have added our project to the remote repository. Now Tom can make any changes in his project, and whenever he wants he can do a commit and push. So let us see, let us add a new test case. I am going to add a test case, and I will name it as test1 by Tom and say OK. And now we can go to again git commit, and it will show you the changes. You can add these changes to the staging area and then say added test1 or any message and do a commit and push. Say OK. And now we can check our remote repository. So I will again refresh it, and you can see these test cases have come, and inside this we have this test1 added by Tom. Okay. Now let us go to Kim. Now Kim has to clone the project created by Tom into her Katalon studio. So let us go to Kim's system. So Kim is on Windows. Let us go to her Katalon studio, and she has already enabled Git on her Katalon studio, and she has to now do a Git clone. And for that she needs the URL again. So we have to give her the same URL of the repository, and here again she will give her username and password for GitHub, and then say next and next and finish. And you can see this project has come here. You can also go to test cases, and you can see the test case created by Tom is now being reflected here on Kim's system. So now step 2 is she will add some of her changes, and then she will commit and push her changes to the remote repository. So let us go to Kim's system, and Kim is going to add another test case, and let us say this is test2 by Kim, and let us say OK. So this test case has come here, and now let us go to git commit, and again she will add all her changes and then do a give a message test2 edit and do a commit and push and say OK. And now let us check if Kim's changes have come on the remote repository or not. So I'm again going to the remote repository on GitHub and I will refresh it. And now you can see if we go to the test cases, you can see test 2 by Kim is being reflected here. So Kim has added her changes as well. And now Tom can pull the changes and see if there are any changes made by Kim or any other team members. So he will do a git pull. So again, let us go to Tom's system and you can see as of now we have just one test case which was created by Tom. So he will go to git and he will say pull, and then he will say finish, and he can review all the changes and say OK, and then he can go to manage branches and check out branch, and he can check out the branch he wants. As of now we have only one branch which is master, and say OK, and now you can see Kim's test case has also been come here. So this is how Tom will pull the changes, or any other team members can pull and push the changes, and then they can run and validate. So now Tom and Kim are ready with Git. So there is one useful tip that Kim wants to give you, that you can change the default location of your Git projects by going to preferences, team and Git. So you can go to your Katalon Studio, go to preferences, and then go to team and Git, and here you can change the default location of your project, and then there are other options as well that you can look into. Project with the help of Git and run our Katalon Studio test on the latest project. Let us begin, and step number 1 is we have to add our test suite execution commands in Jenkins job. So let us go to our Katalon Studio, and this is the project that we have created in our last session, and here we have created two test cases, test 1 by Tom and test 2 by Kim. In test 1 by Tom, I have added 3 steps, which is opening browser, going to this URL lifecharger.org and close browser, and in test 2 by Kim, I have added an open browser, go to this URL katalon.com and close browser. Now I'm going to create a test suite, and I will name it as test suite 1, and here I'm going to add test 1 by Tom, and now I can generate a command. And we have seen in our last sessions we can go to build cmd, and here you can give all the options, and then you can click generate command. So this will generate a command, and this we have to add in our Jenkins job. So to go to Jenkins job, let us go to our terminal, and we have already seen in our earlier sessions that we have to go to the location of jenkins.var. So in my case it is located at desktop, tools, Jenkins, and we have to say java space hyphen jar dot var, and this should start Jenkins on our system. So we got the message Jenkins is fully up and running. So let us go to our browser and go to localhost 8080. So I have started Jenkins on the default port 8080, and here I am going to create a new item, and let me name our project Katalon Git Test, and this is a freestyle project, and let us click OK. And here, as we have seen in our earlier sessions, we will go to build and add a build step. In case you are on Windows, you will say execute Windows batch command. In case of Mac, you will say execute shell, and here we have to add the command that we have got from our Katalon Studio. So we have to copy this command from here and paste it here, and also before we run this command we have to go to the location where our Katalon Studio is. So in case of Mac, we have to go to the applications folder, and in case of Windows you will go to the folder where your katalon.exe is, and we have seen this in our last session. So I'm just going directly here and running this command, and I will say save and apply. So our job is created. We can test it by running it. So I will say build now, and it will trigger the execution, and we can also see the console output. So we can see this is successfully executed. So our job is ready, but now we have to go to step number 2 and install Git on our system. So for that you have to go to gitscm.com. So if you go to your browser, you can type git, and we have to go to this site gitscm.com, and here you can download the Git as per your operating system. So we have to download Git as per your operating system. You have to install Git, and then on the command line or a terminal you will type Git, and you will check that Git is installed or not. In case you face any issues in installing and getting started with Git, I already have created sessions for both Mac and Windows on how to start with Git. So you can go to my channel and you can go to the playlist Git and GitHub, and here you will get all these sessions. So you can watch the first one, and in case you are on Mac you can watch the second one, and the third one in case you are on Windows. So these are very basic step-by-step sessions which will get you started on Git. So now step number 3 is we have to add and test our Git commands. So let us see what all commands we have to add. So first we have to do a pull. So for that the command is git pull and the repository URL. So what we have to do is, before this you have to go to the location of the project. So in our case the project is located at this location. Let us go to our terminal and go to the location of the project, which is users Raghav Git, and then we have to say git pull, and the repository we have to take from GitHub. So this is the repository that we created in our last session. So I'm just going to clone or download and copy this URL of the repository, and I will give it here, and let us do this. So this is already up to date. So this is the command that we will be using. We will go to the location of the project, and then we will do a git pull. Okay, and then we have to do a push. So for that we have to say, first we have to do a git status. So let us do a git status here to check what all changes we have to add. So it is already clean, and then we have to say git add dot, which will add all our changes, and then we have to say git commit -m and any message. So the same thing here I will type, and then you have to say git push -u origin and master is our branch and origin is our repository. So this I can take the same repository which we have given here, -u this repository and master. So this will push all the changes to the repository. So everything is up to date as of now. And then one quick tip is, in this URL you can also mention your username and password. So you can say here your username colon your password and then at, and then you can put the rest of the URL. So in this case it will not ask you separately for a username and password. For now we can just keep it as it is. So now we have to add these commands in our Jenkins. So let us do that. First we have to add these pull commands. So let us go to our Jenkins and let us go to configure, and here I'm going to add these pull commands before running the test, and after running the test I will push the changes. So after running the test we have to add the push commands, which are these. So I will add these commands and then I will say echo success. I will apply and save these. So we have already added all the commands to our Jenkins job, and now we have to run and validate. So before doing that, let us test. In our test suite we have a single test case. Let us add test 2 as well, which is test 2 by Kim. And now let us see if our Jenkins is able to pull all these changes and run our test suite, which should run test case 1 as well as test case 2. Let me just save it, and now I am going to my Jenkins and I will say build now. Let us see the console output. So there is some issue. Let us so we have to add one here, save and apply, and let us now do a build again, and let us see the console output this time. So we can see it is pulling from Git, and then it will start the test. So you can see it is running a Chrome browser and it is running the first test, which should go to lifecharger.org website. And yes, this one is done. And then it is running the next test also, which is test 2, which should go to katalon.com. And see, this is the change that we have done in our test suite. And now it has run both the test cases and it is completing our job. It is pushing back all the changes back to Git, and everything is. Hello and welcome to this session on automation recorder from Katalon Studio, and this is a Chrome plugin that we can use to create very quick and easy automation tests. And let us go inside and look at the main features of this recorder. So this is a very powerful IDE which can be used to record, run, and then you can also edit your recorded test cases. You can export your test cases into any of these languages, and this is a Chrome plugin, but very soon we will also be having a Firefox add-on, and this uses Selenium 3 core engines, and there is more on the documentation page, so you can also go to this quick guide. And let us go and look at how exactly it can be used. So you can go to your Chrome browser and go to web store. So I'm going to my web store, and here you can start typing Katalon automation and hit enter. So you will have this Katalon automation recorder. Just add it to Chrome, add extension, and you will have this here on your Chrome browser. You will see this Katalon automation recorder. So now let us see how exactly we can use it. So you just have to go here and click on this Katalon automation recorder. It will open this window. Let us very quickly look at this window. So we have these 4 tabs. The new tab is for creating new test cases. You can use this record tab for recording your actions, the play tab for playing back and also for stopping the playback, and then we have the export tab where you can export your recorded test in any of the programming languages. So let us very quickly go to new and create a test case. I will say test 1, okay, and I will hit the record button. And now here I will go to this Orange HRM website. This is a demo website, and you can see whatever actions I will do on this application will get recorded here. So let me very quickly log in, give a username, password, and hit on the login button. And then let me go to the admin tab and give any username, click on search, and that's it. Let me just stop the recording. So I have all my actions recorded. Let me also now just go and
playback. So I will just play back this. So you can see it goes to the orange HRM, logs in, and then goes to the admin tab, adds a username and clicks on the search button, and this is done. So this was very easy. Now you can also edit your test cases. So here are the buttons that you can use. You can add a new step, you can delete a step, you can delete all, you can select and find. So you can also click on any of the steps and you can see all the details here, and you can edit it from here as well. So you can select the command here, you can also select the target. So you can see this has all these recorded, so you can add it from here, and then you can also add the value. You can also get the logs here, you can get the console logs here, the running logs, as well as you can get the references for every step here. So this was quite easy. You can also go to the settings, and here you can add the ports and all. And if you go to this help icon, it will take you to the documentation and the user guide for this plugin. So you can very quickly go through this. This will be very helpful. And now let us see how exactly you can do export on any of your programming languages. So I will click on export button, and now you can see it has all the options for exporting in all these programming languages. So I will select Java, WebDriver, TestNG, and you can see this has given us the entire code in that language. I can also save this as a file. So I will do a save file, and this will save as a Java file. So I will just copy it from here and go to my Eclipse, and I already have a project where I have already added Selenium and TestNG libraries, and I can directly go and paste it here. So if I go inside, you can see this is the code. Of course I will just delete the package name, and you can see I have the entire code for this recording, and this is very handy. I can now use it for any of my existing scripts, or I can create a new script. I can directly run it from here. So what I will do is, instead of Firefox, let me try it on a Chrome browser. So I will say Chrome driver, and I will just now run it from here. So let us see what happens. It opens a Chrome browser, it goes to Orange HRM website, does a login, goes to the admin tab, enters the username and search, and this is done. So how fast that was, right? So we have created the entire script very quickly, and then you can also export it into any other tools or languages. So for example, I can do it as a robot framework, and I can directly just copy this, go to my robot framework, add a new test suite. Let me say this is test suite 1, and here I will go to text edit and just add this, and now you can see we have this test case ready where we are doing all these actions. So this is how quick and handy it can be. So that was all about using Katalon automation recorder for creating automation test faster. I hope you liked it. Thank you for watching tutorials. In this session we are going to go very basic step by step, and we will learn how to test APIs or web services with Katalon Studio, and we will see how to set up a API testing project. We will see how to add API request. We will learn how to create API test case and how to add web services keyword, and finally we will run and validate. So let's get started, and let me go to my Katalon Studio, and here is my Katalon Studio on a Mac OS system, and in case you are on Windows, you can also open your Katalon Studio on Windows, and you can see I am using the latest version as of now, which is 5.4.2 on Windows, as well as on Mac, which is 5.4.2. so this is the latest version as of now. And in case you do not have the latest version, you can go to help section and click on check for updates, and you can get the latest version from here. So let's get started, and if you go to the help screen, you can also get this screen from help and Katalon help menu. If you go here, you have this option for sample web services testing project. So let me click here. You can actually create a new project, but
we will use the sample project for demo, and here you can give the name of this project. So you can say this is sample API test project, and you can give the location where you want to save this, and a description is optional, and you can give any description here and say this is a sample project to test API, and say OK. So this will create this project here, and you can see here we have this test explorer where we have test cases, object repositories, test suites, data files, checkpoints, keywords, etc. And here if you click on test cases, you can see there are some sample test cases already created. You can go to the object repository and you will find some web services objects already created. So I will just close this katalon help. So to create a API test case, we have to take some sample API. So I'm going to my browser and I will say sample REST API and click enter, and here you will get some sample APIs. I will get this REQRES. Click here, and this website has some really good sample APIs that you can use for your testing. And here you can see these are the APIs: list users, single user, and all these are get request. You have some post request, put request, and delete request as well. So let me first take a very simple single user get request, and this is the endpoint. So I will take this URL and go to a new tab and paste it, and then I will take this endpoint, copy this, go to a new tab, and then append it here and hit enter, and you can see it is giving me the details of some particular user, which is user2. Also this is a JSON, but it is not very well formatted. In case you want to look at a formatted JSON response, you can just browse for JSON viewer and you will find many options. So you can go to this JSON viewer here, and here you can give your JSON input and click on beautify, and you are getting this output. So here you can see here in the output we are getting ID, first name, last name, and avatar. So this is the request that we are going to use in our Katalon Studio. So let us go back to our Katalon Studio, and the first step is you will go to this object repository, do a right click, go to new, and here you have to click on web service request. So we have to create a web service request object. However, it is a best practice that you create folders, and inside your folders organize your objects. So first I will create a folder and name it as user and say OK. And inside this user folder now I will create a web service request, and here we have to give the name. So let us give some meaningful name. Get user details is the name, and request type is RESTful. We have SOAP and RESTful, so it is RESTful. The URL, I will copy this that we have taken from our browser. You can give some description which is optional and say OK. And you can see we have got this window, and here now we have a very clean looking UI for APIs and web services in Katalon Studio. In the earlier versions of Katalon Studio, if you go here, this is our earlier version 4.5.0, and here if you look at a sample web service testing project, let me just open a web service testing project in the earlier version. Here if you go to the any API or web service object, you can see the UI was not so clean. The request and response were not separated properly. However, if you see at the latest version, you have a very clean looking UI. Okay, and yes, now we have our API request object, and here you can see this is the URL we have given, and here we have options for the protocol, and here we can have get, post, put, delete and so on. As of now this is a get request, and then we have this section for parameters. Now in my request I do not have any parameters, however in case you have any parameters you can add it here. Also in case you have any parameters in the URL itself, for example if you have parameters like we give question mark name equals Raghav, and you can see it automatically takes it here. So in case you have any parameters in the URL it will be generated here, otherwise you can also add manually. So if you go to this section at the bottom we have authorization, HTTP header and HTTP body. So in case your request has any authorization you can give it here, and here in the drop down you have basic and OAuth 1.0. so for example if you have any basic authorization you can give the username, password, and as of now I do not have any authorization. Then in case you have any HTTP headers in your request you can add it here, and in case of post you can get the body here. Okay, and once you have created your request you just click on this send button or test request button here, and it will ask you to save the changes. I will say OK, and you can see sending request, and here you can see the response. So this window here is for response, and here you can see the status which is 200 OK. The time taken is 1183 milliseconds and the size in bytes. And then you have body and header. So these are the response headers and this is the response body. You also have different formats. So you can see a pretty format, you can see a raw format or a preview, and then you have these different formats or representations at the bottom. You have XML representation, HTML, JavaScript and JSON. So this is how you can create a request and you can test it. Also in case you are using any SOAP API, so let me just go and search for a sample SOAP API. I have a country info service WSDL. So in case of SOAP we have WSTL, which is a web services description language, and you can take any WSTL for any SOAP service which is available online. I am taking this country info service, so I will just copy this WSTL URL and go to my Katalon Studio, and again in the object repository I will do a right click and I will first create a new folder, and I will say this is country info service and say OK. And inside the folder now I will create a new web service request and I will give the name as country info service WSDL, and here I will select this is a SOAP, and here I will just copy and paste the WSTL URL. I can give some description which is optional and say OK, and here you can see this is giving me an option to load from WSDL. So if I click here it will load all the APIs or all the web services which are available in that document, and here I will get a list of all the APIs. Now you can try selecting any API and run this. However, this will not run properly as of now because we have to give a proper body and everything. So this is something we will learn separately, how to run SOAP requests with Katalon Studio. As of now, let us focus on our get rest request. So this is working fine, and the next step is we have to now create a test case. So until we create a test case and add some verifications, we cannot actually test or validate this API. So I will go to the test cases, do a right click, and I can create a new test case, but as a best practice I will first create a folder and give some meaningful name to the folder. I am saying this is user test cases, so I can just give the name as user, say OK, and inside the user folder I will create a new test case, and here I will give some name, validate user details, and you can give some description and also you can give some tags. So I will say user details. Now tags are important when you are searching, so if I give some tag and say OK, now this is the test case. And also as I told you,
using tag, it will be very helpful while searching. So if you go here to the search and say user details and click on enter, you can see you will get your particular test case which had that tag. Also it is matching this as well, but definitely you will get the element that has that particular tag. So here now we have our test case. So now here we can start creating our test. So what you have to do is go to this add button and click on web service keyword, and here the very first keyword will be send request. The very first thing we have to do is send the request, and here in the object, if you double click, you will have to select the web service object. So we have to select get user details from here, which was our REST API request, which is this one, and you can click on OK. The other way is you can also drag and drop from the object repository. So I will just drag this and drop this object here, and you can see this has come here. And then in the output you have to give any variable. So for example, I say this is response. So whatever is the output of this API will be stored in this variable called response. Okay, so this is our first step, which is send request. If you go to the script mode from here bottom, you can see the scripting of this. I will just minimize this import statements, and you can see this is the script ws.sendRequest find test object, and this is the users. Inside users folder we have get user details, and this all is stored inside response. So the response variable will store the output. Okay, so now let me go back to our test case in the manual mode. Now in the first step we have just sent the request and store the output in the response variable. Now we will again add another web service keyword, and that will be verify response status code. So what we are doing is we have to verify that the status code that we are getting back is a valid status code. So we will click on this, and just in case you do not know the keywords that you have to use, you can always go here to the keyword viewer and go to built-in keywords, go to web services keywords, and then here you have all the keywords organized. These are the element keywords, and then these are the request keywords, and so you can find it from here. Also you can go to Katalon Studio documentation on their website. So you can go here. So I'm going to the official website of Katalon Studio. You can go to the resources and click on documentation. Here if you go to the user guides, you have all these guides here, and then there are these built-in keywords. So you can go to the web services and look at all the web services keywords from here. These are the request and these are the response keywords. So you will find all the keywords here as well. So now let me go back, and here we have to verify the status code. So in the input I will have to first give the variable where we stored our response. So this is going to be a variable, and the value of the variable is response, and then the expected status code that we want to find out is, or that we want to validate is 200, and let us say OK. And here it is giving 0, so I can always go to the script mode and I can change this here. So this should be 200, which is a valid status code, and I will go back to manual mode, and yes, this is working fine. So here we are just testing that the status code is 200. Now I will again go to add web services keyword, and I will say verify element property value. So in case you want to validate any particular value inside the response, you will use this keyword, and here in the input you have to give the response object, so which is our variable response that we have stored in our first step, and then we have to give a locator. Okay, so for locator, if you go to your API request, and here for example if I want to validate first name is Janet, I first have to tell in my test case that what is the locator
or what is the position of this particular first name tag. And for that, what you can do is you can go online to your browser and you will find a lot of JSON path finder options. So just go to your Google and say JSON path evaluator or finder. So this one, JSON path finder, you can use here. Also there is a Chrome plugin. Let me also take the Chrome plugin and show you. So this is a Chrome plugin, JSON path finder. Add it to your Chrome. And once this is added, you can see it here. This is added, and if you click here, it will open a new tab and open this window. Just paste your JSON message here or JSON text here, and then search node. In search node, I want to search first name. Just copy your value or tag here, and then click on submit. Now here you can see it has found first name only at a single location, and which is data.firstitem. So this is the JSON path that you can take it from here. Also, if you go to this JSON path finder, here you can do the same thing. You can put your JSON data here and you click on beautify, and here you will get this formatted data. And now if you click on any element, it will give you the JSON path. So JSON path is data.firstname. You can take it from here or from here, which is the same thing, and go to your Katalon Studio test case, and here you can give the locator here. So the locator is data.firstname, and the value that I have to validate is Janet, right? So the value is Janet, which is this one. So I will just say OK, and now I have a test ready. I am sending the request, validating the response code is 200, and then validating the first name is Janet. So now I will just go and hit this run button here. And let us see the log viewer, and yes, this is running our test case, and yes, the test case is passed, and you can see the logs. All the steps have passed. This is passed, second step is passed, and the third step is also passed, which is validating the value in the response. So if in case, let us say I say instead of Janet I want to test the name is Raghav, of course this should fail now. So if I run it again, let me go to the log viewer, let me run it again now. Yes, this is running now. If I look at the logs, let me check if this fails or not, and yes, you can see this has failed, and this gives a very intuitive message: unable to verify element property value. Expected was Raghav, but actual was Janet, so that's why it failed. Now of course, if you go to the reports, you will not get any report for test cases. For that we have to create test suites. So again, go to test suite and do a right click, go to new. You can create a new test suite, but we will create a folder first to organize our test cases, and we will say this is user test suite and say OK. And inside user test suite you create a test suite. This is for user validation and say OK. And here now you will click add and add the test case. So you can click on this folder and all the test cases inside this folder will be added. As of now we have a single test case. Say OK, and now you can click on this run button. It will run the entire test suite. Let us go to the log viewer, and it is running the test case. And this is executed, and you can see the logs here. And of course this is failure because we are still validating Raghav, but the actual value is Janet. And now if you go to the reports, you will see this reports, and again it is inside user test suite folder, user validation, and this is the report. So you can open this report and you can see it shows one test case which has failed. You can look at the summary which shows you the ID, host, and welcome to this session on Katalon Studio beginner tutorials. And today we are going to see all about Katalon analytics, and we will go very basic step by step and learn Katalon analytics from scratch. So we are going to see what is Katalon analytics, we will see why should you use it and how to use Katalon analytics, and we will see how to upload the reports to Katalon analytics. So let's get started. And Katalon Analytics is an application to store, view, and analyze results or reports in Katalon Studio. So Katalon Analytics is a application, and it's a separate web application where you can store your results from Katalon Studio, you can view them and you can analyze them. So if I go to my browser, and this is a documentation on the Katalon website about Katalon Analytics, and here are the benefits of using it. So you actually get one place where you can see all your reports, all your results, and you can actually see status reports for all your builds. So it is kind of a trend report where you can see how is your test execution going on. You see duration reports. For every run you see what is the time taken, and then some detailed execution reports and pie charts. So why should we use Katalon Analytics? Because it provides a platform where you can store all your results for every execution and then analyze it in a very intuitive way. And now let us see how to use Katalon Analytics. So step number 1 will be, you have to go to analytics.katalon.com and log in. So I will let me go to analytics.katalon.com, and here you will log in with your email that you have used while downloading and while registering on katalon.com. So you will use the same email ID here, and then you can log in. You can also sign up in case you do not already have a registered account. And after login, you will probably get a screen to create projects. In my case, I have already created a project, so I am getting this screen. So in case you get a screen to create a project, you can do that. Also, you can see here there is a settings icon here. You can also use this and go to projects, and here you can create more projects. Let me write down in the notes. The first step is you have to go to Katalon analytics.katalon.com and log in, and step 2 is create a new project there. And once you have done this, step 3 will be, now you have to go to your Katalon Studio. So I will open Katalon Studio now, and my Katalon Studio is here, and you can see I am using the latest version as of now, which is 5.4.2. and here you can now either create your new project or use your existing project. In my case, I do not have any existing project, so what I will do is I will just take this sample web project. I will click here and sample web test project. You can give location, you can give some description which is optional, and say OK. Now the very first thing you have to do is you have to go to your project and go to settings, and in case you are on Windows, you will do the same thing. Open your Katalon Studio, go to project and go to settings. So I will also go to project and settings here, and here inside integration you will find an option for Katalon Analytics. And just in case you are not getting this option, make sure you are having the latest version of Katalon Studio, and click on this analytics, and you will get this window here. The first thing you have to do is enable integration, and it will take the server URL, which is analytics.katalon.com, and then you can give your email, the registered email on Katalon Studio, and your password, and then hit the connect button. So when you click on connect, it will start connecting to your Katalon Analytics Online, and once it has connected, you will see it will show you the teams. So as of now, I just have a single team and the projects that you have created on Katalon Analytics website. So in my case, I have two, and whatever project you will create, you will get it here. So let me select test project here. You can also create a new project right from here, but in my case, I have already created, and you can select your already created project from here. And also on Katalon Analytics, I will select test project, and as of now you can see it is empty. We do not have any reports here. Now after this, after you have connected, you will see this test result section where you can click on automatically submit test result, and you can also select attach screenshot and attach log. So when you select automatically submit test run result, after you run your test suites, the results will automatically be uploaded to Katalon Analytics. So you can say apply and OK. And also let me write down the steps. You have to open Katalon Studio and then go to project, settings, integration, and Katalon Analytics, and then you have to give details and connect, and then you have to select automatic upload, which is optional, and we will also see how do we do manual upload as well. Now step 4 will be you have to run your test suite and check reports uploaded to Katalon Analytics. Okay. So now, because we have already selected a sample web project, you can see all the test cases are already there, and in the test suite also we have a test suite where some test cases are already added. So these are the sample test cases provided by Katalon Studio. So in case you have your own project, you can use that. And of course, the results will be created only for test suites or test suites collection. The results do not get created for test cases. So that's why we will run test suite. So here you can go here, and then you can select the browser you want to run on. Let me select Chrome, and you can start the execution. So this is running, and it has opened a Chrome browser as well. So this is the sample test of Katalon Studio sample web testing project. It is doing some login, and now the second test case, and again doing some login and some other actions, and done. So you can see the logs are running here, and you can see now here you can see it is uploading report to Katalon Analytics, and this is happening because we selected automatic upload. So this should upload our report to Katalon Analytics, and let us just wait for this process to get completed. So now you can see this is done, and now we can go to our Katalon Analytics on the browser, and here you can refresh this. So I will just select test project 1 so that this gets refreshed, and let us see. Now here, if you see here closely, you can see there is one execution and it says passed 2 failed 0, and in case you go down, you can also see these details of the execution. That is number 1 passed, and duration, total, failed, error, incomplete, and then there is CSV as well here, and if you go to this ID of that particular execution, you can actually see the detailed report with the pie charts, the status, the start time, total time. Here is the CSV that you can download, and then all the test cases here. So you can see this is the test suites and test cases. You can also click on any test case and also see the details. So here you can see all the details here. So as of now, we have just a single execution, so we are not getting a really good status or performance report. Although you can see the duration here, it is 38 seconds, but still let us do one thing. Let us run some more tests. So I will select this time Firefox and run it again. So this is running our test on Firefox browser. And while this is happening, let me write down my notes. So step 5 will be run some more tests to validate reports are getting uploaded. And then step 6 will be we will have to check manual upload. So this is something we will do as next step. So as of now, you can see the reports are getting uploaded to Katalon Analytics for our second execution, and this is done. Let me also select one more execution here. So this time this is running on a Safari browser, and looks like this should fail. So this is good. So we will get to see a failure report as well. And this is done. And now we also want to upload one report manually. So for that, what you have to do is in your project, go to settings again and go to integration and Katalon Analytics. And here you have to uncheck this automatic submit. So here I will uncheck automatically submit test results, so that this does not automatically uploads the report, and say OK. And now let me again run one execution. So our test is running on a Chrome browser. So you can see our testing is completed, and you can see as of now we are not getting any information that the report is being uploaded to Katalon Analytics. So because we have not selected that option for automatic upload, so now I can go to the reports section here, and let me take the latest report. And here if you see, you will find this option for Katalon Analytics, and here you have the option to upload. So I will just click on upload, and this should upload this particular report to Katalon Analytics. And looks like this is done. So let us go to our Katalon Analytics web application, and now let me refresh this again, and we should have some good data now because we have multiple executions. And yes, you can see now we have some good looking data. So now let us analyze our Katalon Analytics report. So very first report is this status report, where you get the status per execution. So as of now you can see we have 4 executions done, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and you can see with this green and red, which is for pass and fail, you can get an overall status and the trend. You can also filter out. You can click here and you can see only the pass or only the failed from here, and then here we have the performance or the duration. So here you get for every run what is the duration. So you can see for the first run we took some 40 seconds, then we took some 50 seconds, then there was a failure there, so of course the time was less, and then again it went to around 38 seconds. So this is very useful. Sometimes if you see some very large variation, for example one of your test execution is taking, let's say, 5 minutes and the other test execution is taking like 15 minutes, so you know there is some issue, and once you have a new build and this time increases or decreases drastically, you will come to know exactly that you know there is some performance issue in your application. So this is going to be very handy, very useful. And then if you go down, you have the detailed reports per execution. So for every execution you have a report. So for example, if I go to this number 3 which is failed, I will click here and it will take me to the detailed report, and here you can see pass and failed. And if you click on these test cases, you will again get a detailed report. So you see this particular test case failed, you get the errors here, what was the error, and then you get the console log here. So it becomes very easy and handy for troubleshooting. Okay, you can click on this error stack trace and you can get the txt, and then let me go back. You can see the history as well, view history. So you can see how easy and intuitive this is and how useful this can be. You get the entire trend report here, the duration trends here, the details here, every test case details, the pass and the fail. In case of fail, you get the errors, the stack trace, everything, all the logs, so that it's very handy. And you can also download a CSV from here, and then you can go to your project, you can go to settings and projects, and from here you will find all your projects. You can create new projects or you can edit existing projects, and this is how you can use Katalon analytics. So let me go back and write my notes. So step number 7 will be analyze reports on Katalon analytics.
Beginner tutorials, and today we are going to see how can we do a mobile testing on an Android device on Windows platform using Katalon Studio. So we are going to go very basic step by step, and we will learn how do we install Node.js, how do we install APM, and then how do we set up our mobile device for automation. We will see how do we do connection and then validate the connection, and finally we will run test cases on the mobile device. So in case you do not have any prior knowledge or you have not worked on mobile testing earlier, do not worry, we are going to go step by step. So step number 1 is we have to check if Node is already installed on your system, and for that you can use the command node space -v, or you can also use the command node space -- version. So let me go to my command prompt, and here I will say node space -v or node space -- version, and I am not getting any version number. In case you get any version number, that means Node is already installed. And you can also check npm space -v and npm space -- version to check if npm is installed or not. So I will write down this as well. You can check npm space -v or npm space -- version. And in case Node is not installed, that means npm would also not be installed on your system. These are just the commands that you can remember. And here node space -v and node space -- version are actually the same command. -v is just the shorter version for -- version. So once you have checked this, and in case you do not have Node, step number 2 will be download and install node.js, and actually here also I should mention this is node.js. So for the second step we have to go to our browser, and here I will just say download node.js. So here we are getting this option, download node.js from nodejs.org en download, and you can go to this particular website, and here you can get the installer as per your operating system. So I am on Windows, so you can get the Windows installer 32-bit or 64-bit, and to check whether you are using 32-bit or 64-bit operating system, you can go to your My Computer or this PC, and there if you do a right click, go to Properties, and here you will get the information about your operating system. So in my case I am using Windows 10 and the bit size is 64-bit, so I will get the 64-bit installer. So you can just click here and you can get the installer. So this will download your installer. You can see this download is getting here, and before I begin to install, I will also copy this URL in the notes. So you have to get Node.js from here, and all these notes will be available in the description section of this video. So now I will go to my installer and I will just click on the installer so that it will start installing Node.js on the system. And yes, now we have the setup wizard for Node.js. I will click next and accept the terms, next, and here you have to give the location where you want your Node.js to be installed. This is the default location on Windows, C program files and Node.js. Now here the only thing we have to make sure is install Node.js at a location where you have complete read and write permissions. So I have all the permissions on my system, so I will click on next, and here in this particular window make sure that this thing add to path is enabled. You can see this means will be installed on local hard drive, which is something we want. So here just click next and click on install. So this will start installation of Node.js on our system, and it should take a couple of seconds to a minute to do the installation of Node.js. And you can see the Node.js installation is done. So click on finish, and now if you go to your command line and say node space -v, you can see we are getting the version of Node.js, and the latest version as of my time now is 8.11.2, or you can say node space -- version, it will give you the same result, and then npm space -v or npm space -- version, this will give you the same result. So now Node and npm are installed, and npm is the package manager that comes with Node. So we have done our step. Also you can make sure that you have Node installed physically, so you can go to your C drive and go to users and go to your username or whatever is the user who is admin on this system, and then here you will find a hidden folder by the name app data. So in case you do not see this folder, make sure that you have enabled viewing of hidden folders. Go inside this, go to roaming, and here you should find a folder by the name npm. Okay, so you can check this as well. So I will write down in the notes as well. Check node.js is installed by running the above commands. So these are the commands. So you have to just run these commands. I will just put it here as well, node and npm. And also you can run one more command, which is where node. So I will run this command as well, where node. It will give you the location of node, or you can say where npm. It will give you the location of npm on your system. Okay, so now let us come to step number 3, and step number 3 is install apm. So this is the important step, and before you do this you have to check Java is installed on your system. So for Java you can also run some commands. So you can say java space -- version, or it is java space -version, I believe. Yes, so in my case I have Java 8 installed, and you can also see the Java compiler version by running java c space -version, and I have Java compiler as well. So as long as you have a JDK installed, it should be fine. And now to install apm you have to say npm install -g apm. So this will install the latest apm version. Also you can use @ symbol and actually give some particular version number for APM in case you want a particular version. In my case, I want whatever the latest version is, and the -G option is to install it globally so that I can use APM from any location on my system. So I will run this command, and this should start getting and installing APM. Let me also write down these commands. So first you have to say java space hyphen version to check the Java on your system, and then npm install -G APM or npm install -G APM at some particular version, for example 1.5.2. So now it is getting APM installed and getting ready on our system. It can take some time, so let us just wait for APM to get installed. So this is getting all the information and packages from internet, and then it is installing. And the duration of this process will also depend on the network speed you are getting. So you can see it is now doing all the updates and everything, and as long as you are getting some info or warning messages, it is fine. The only thing is you should not get any error message. In case you are getting any error message, then you will have to maybe try some other version of APM. Okay, so see, this process has been completed, and although there are some warning messages, which is okay, but there are some errors as well, and this can be a compatibility issue between APM and the node versions you have. So in case you get this errors, that means your APM will not work that particular version. So the latest version as of now is 1.8.1, and so what I will do is I will do uninstall and then get some other version. So I will do npm uninstall -G APM first. So this should uninstall the APM, and this is done. And you can see, just to ensure I do not have APM, you can say APM space -- version. So yes, APM is not there, and now I will get some other version of APM, and with experience I can say that 1.7.1 version of APM works fine for me on this particular system. Now in your case, in case you are getting the similar issue, you can try with 1.7.1 or 1.5.2 version of APM. Let us first try with 1.7.1 version of APM, and this is now in process. Let us just wait for this process to get complete. And as of now we have some warnings, which is fine as long as we do not have any errors. And yes, as of now it is going fine. So even in case this is the first time you are using Node or you are using APM, do not worry. You can follow these steps, and step by step we will do all the process. Okay, so this is complete, but I think there are still some errors, and let me just go up and let us see. The error is ms build error number could not load the Visual C++ component vcbuild.exe. To fix this, I have to install the .NET Framework 2.0 SDK or install Visual Studio 2005 or add the location of the component to the system path if it is installed elsewhere. So here let me just take this and see where is this located. Okay, I have here until APM, and then I have to go to node modules, which is here, and I do not have this head dump build in this particular version.
Now let me try with the very first option, which is install the .NET Framework 2.0 SDK. I will go to Google and try to search for this, and I will go to the very first option, and here I will go and try to download .NET Framework 2.0 Software Development Kit, and let me try to download.
Now see, you might get some different issue, and this is how you can troubleshoot and resolve it. Whatever error or information you get, go to Google, paste it, and you definitely will get some solution. You might have to invest some time and do some troubleshooting, but you will get the solution. And also sometimes this might not be required, and to check that, what you can do is go to your command line and say apm space hyphen hyphen version, and in case you get the apm version, that means it is installed, and yes, I am getting. Also you can say apm space -v, and this will give us the same result. So that means apm is installed, so we can actually test it. So I will just put down the notes here. Check if apm is installed, and the command is apm space --version or apm space -v. Also you can run the command where apm, so that will show you where is your apm, and we can see it is under app data roaming npm. So if you go to your app data roaming and npm folder, you should have your node modules, and inside node modules you should have your apm. Okay, so apm is installed. Next step is we have to open our Katalon Studio and connect to apm. Okay, so for that we will go and open our Katalon Studio, and here you have to go to the menu Windows and Katalon Studio Preferences, and here you have the option Katalon, and under Katalon you have the option for mobile. Go here, and here in the apm directory you have to browse to your apm folder that is under your node module. So under your npm node modules you have to go to your apm folder and give this folder here, and this is the same folder that we have here inside your npm node modules, and then say apply and OK. So now we have connected our apm to our Katalon Studio, and now the important step is we have to make our mobile ready. So we have to set up Android mobile device for automation. So at this moment you will go to your physical Android device. We can use emulators as well, but in this session I am going to show you with a real device, and we will have other sessions for using emulators. So at this moment you will go to your Android device, and in my case, to show you the Android screen on the system, I will use a Chrome plugin called Visor, and with the help of Visor you can see my Android device on the desktop screen. So this is a actual real device connected with the help of a USB cable on my system, and with the help of Visor software you are able to see the screen. So what you will do is go to settings, and here go to about phone and go to build number. So basically we have to come to build number. There may be some changes in the navigation in your particular mobile device, so you have to go to settings, and wherever you get your about phone or about Android, and then you have to come to build number, and then tap this build number 7 times. So the reason we are doing this is we have to enable developer options, and you can see in my case I have already enabled it. So now once you have done this, tap it 7 times and you get the message that developer mode is enabled or you are now a developer. Then you will again go to settings, and now you should have this developer options present. This you will get only after you do the earlier step. Go to developer options, and here make sure that you switch on this USB debugging. So switch on this, and I will just write down the steps as well. So what you have to do here is go to settings, about phone, and then tap 7 times on build number, and once you get the message that you are a developer, then again go to settings, developer options, and enable USB debugging. And just in case there is any change in the navigation, you can Google for your particular model or Android device that where you will find build number or where you will find developer options. Now step number 6 is connect Android device to your system, whether it is a laptop or a desktop. Connect it with the help of a USB cable. So this is the moment where you will take a USB cable and connect it to your system. And here at this time, once you connect, if you get an option of making USB debugging on your mobile device, ensure that you enable it. And now we have to ensure that our Katalon Studio can connect to this mobile device. So for that we have to create a new project, and you can also use a sample mobile project that comes along with Katalon Studio. And on this help screen, you can get this help screen from help, Katalon help as well. Click on this sample mobile testing project, give some name, mobile test project, give the location wherever you want to save this project. If you want to give some description, give that and say OK. So here in this project, because this is a sample project, we already have some test cases, we already have object repositories and test suites already created. If you go to the test case, you can see this is a mobile test case. I can go to the script mode and I can see some of the mobile keywords as well. And then here we have a test suite. So what we are going to do is we are going to run this particular test suite. So here at this moment you will go to this particular run button and this drop down here and go to the Android option and click here, and here it should show you your Android device. And in case you are not getting it, that means there is some connection issue, so you can again check it. One other way is if you go to your C users and your admin user, and you will find a folder by the name .katalon. Okay, if you go inside, you will find tools and Android SDK and then platform tools. Here you have something called ADB. So go to command line and go to the location of this particular folder, platform tools. A shortcut is you can directly go to the address bar and say CMD and press enter. So this will open command line on the same location, and then here you can say ADB devices and it should show you the ID of your attached device to your system. So it is showing me the ID of my attached device, so that means it is attached properly, and the same thing I can see on Katalon Studio as well. So I will just select this and say OK, and also I will show you my mobile screen. So this is my mobile screen, and the first time it can take some time, and let us see if it runs the test. So you can see the log viewer, and here is the console. In case you want to see the console, you can see that as well. Here is the log viewer, and yes, something is happening. Let us just wait. For the first time it takes some time, and yes, it is now running. There are some actions it is doing on the mobile device. The first test is done, I believe, and it should now start on the second test. And after this test is done, we will actually go into the script and see what exactly it has done. And I will also show you how exactly you can create a new mobile testing project. So this is the second test case that this is running now. Some scrolling actions, some tap actions, as it has tapped on a option, and yes, it has come out. And here you can see this is the log viewer, and you can see both of the test cases are pass. And this is the console. Console will be very important in case you have some errors. You can actually see the errors here. In my case, everything is fine, looks okay. And of course in the reports you can check the reports as well. So this is the report. You can get the summary, execution settings, execution environment. Here you can see the device model, APM version, device operating system, Katalon version, and everything related to the Android device. And Katalon execution settings you can check here. These are the execution settings and the summary here. Now if I go to the test case, so here is a test case where in the sample test case there are some comments. There is a step to start application, then there are some tap actions, there are some other actions, get text and so on. If you go to the script mode, you can see these are the scripts. So you can see mobile.start application, app path, and here you can see this is the app being used. And if you go to the profiles and go to default, you can see the location of this APK file, which is inside the project location Android app API demos. So if you want to see this APK file, you can actually go to your project location wherever you have saved your project. So this is the mobile test project sample and Android app, and this is the APK file that is being used for the application. And we will learn about what is a APK file and how exactly you can use it. So in mobile testing, whenever you want to test a native mobile application, you have to get an APK file and that you have to give to APM. So we can also check this by creating a new project. So let me just create a new project now and name it as sample mobile test 2. Say OK, and now I will do a recording. So I will first create a test case. I will go on test case and say new test case and just say this is test case 1 and say OK. And now I will click on this record mobile. So this will load this window, and here you can see you can get your mobile device that is already connected, and then here if you see you have options for selecting a local device or a katalon device. So katalon is a cloud service where you can get mobile devices on the cloud for use, and we will cover this in a later session, but now I am using my local device, which is this Android device. And here you have to give the application file name. So what I'm going to do is I will just select this API demo.abk, which is already present in the sample project. I will say OK and I will say start, and let us wait for the application to start. So there is some issue. Let me just see. Yes, it is starting now, and yes, so you will also get this device view here, and now I can record my actions. So here whenever I click something, you can see this gets highlighted in the object repository, and if I click here again it is getting highlighted here on the device. So here I can select the object, and maybe I can select something from here. I can say tap, and it will tap on that particular option. So it has selected that and recorded that action. I can select press back, so it will press back and it will come again to the main screen, and it has also recorded the action here. And let me just say OK for now, and OK, and you can see it has recorded my action here on the mobile device. If I go to the script view, you can see in the script view as well, this is the action mobile.start application, and the application APK file it has taken, and then it has found that particular object, and then tap, press back and close application. And now let me just try to run this again on my Android device, this particular device, and say OK. And let me show you my device screen as well here, and it is now starting the test case. In the coming sessions we will learn how to get APK file for different applications, and we will also see how you can use emulators to run your tests on mobile devices. So yes, I believe it should run now. So here I can see APM server started, and now it has, yes, it has started it, and it is doing the same actions. It tapped and it should go back now and close the application, and yes, so it has done our test and it is a success. So let me also write it down. Step number 7 is run the sample mobile test project, and then step 8 will be create a new test and try mobile recording, and then of course run and validate. So these are the 8 steps using which you can start creating automation test cases on the mobile devices, and these are the main steps. This session on Katalon Studio beginner tutorials, and today we are going to learn how to do mobile Android device testing on Mac operating system, and we are going to go very basic step by step, and we will learn how to install Homebrew, how to install Node.js, how to install APM on Mac OS. We will then connect our APM to our Katalon Studio. We will also look how can we configure
the Android device for automation, and finally we will run the tests on mobile device. So let's get started, and step number 1 is install Homebrew. So let me go to my browser, and you can just say Homebrew and search for it, and you will get this option for Homebrew. Just go to this home page, and here you can see Homebrew is the missing package manager for Mac OS. So Homebrew is an application using which we can install, uninstall and manage packages and softwares on Mac OS, and it provides us a very easy way to do that. So we will install Homebrew, and you can just copy this command for installation and then go to your terminal. I will press command spacebar to bring spotlight and search for terminal app, and here is my terminal. I will just copy that command and run it. So this will install Homebrew. I will press enter. If you have any password of your system, it will ask, so you can give your password and then run this. So you can see it has started installing Homebrew here. Let us just wait for this process to get completed. And also this installation of Homebrew is an optional step. However, it will be very useful because with Homebrew you can manage and install and upgrade packages in a very easy way. So I will also add the URL here, and all these notes will be available in the description section of this video. Let me also copy this command as well. So now you can see Brew is installed. Let me just clear the terminal, and you can run the command brew space -v, and it should show you the Homebrew version you have. Also you can run the command brew space -- version. This is the same thing. This should also show you the Homebrew version, and you can also say which brew to get the location of Homebrew, and you can see it is present in USR local bin brew. So let me also write down this in notes. So once you have installed, you can check Homebrew installed successfully by using the commands brew space -v or brew space -- version, which is one and the same thing. So this is -- version, and then you can also say which brew. Okay, now coming to step number 2 is, now because we have Homebrew installed, we will install node.js using Homebrew, and the command will be brew install node. So let us go to our terminal, and let me say brew install node, and this should install our node.js on our Mac operating system. So you can see whenever you do any installation through Brew, it will always update Homebrew first, and then it will start downloading the package and installing it. So you can see as of now it is now downloading, and then it will install. Also, if you go to the website of Homebrew, if you go to the documentation,